Next step of the NFL offseason will begin tomorrow for the Bills. Rookie minicamp will get underway and run through Saturday. And coverage of Bills rookie minicamp on WGR is presented by Fiegel Car and Choice, your border attorneys, and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. The Panthers made a number of moves today. They have released edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney after just one season. The 32-year-old had 5.5 sacks for them last year. Carolina also placing running back Jonathan Brooks on the physically unable to perform list, thus ending his 2025 season. Brooks suffered a torn ACL in Week 14, his second ACL tear in as many years. The Anaheim Ducks have officially hired Joe Quenneville to be the team's next head coach. Quenneville has been out of the NHL since 2021 following the fallout of the investigation of the Chicago Blackhawks. The investigation showed the Blackhawks organization failed to properly address allegations by player Kyle Beach that he was sexually assaulted by video coach Brad Aldrich during the team's 2010 Stanley Cup run. Quenneville was the head coach during that team, and the NHL did determine that he, along with then GM Stan Bowman and then executive Al McIsaac, were ineligible to work for other NHL teams. The ban, though, was lifted in July of 2024. Bowman has since been hired by the Oilers to be their general manager. 2 games tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 7 p.m., Washington hosts Carolina. Then at 9:30, Vegas is at home versus the Oilers. Edmonton and Carolina lead those series 1-0. 1 game in the NBA, Minnesota hosts Golden State at 8:30. Steph Curry out tonight for the Warriors due to a hamstring strain. He is also expected to miss Game 3 on Saturday. And the Bisons, they take on the Saints in Minnesota just after 7:30. And that game's going to be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet, celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's nothing you did.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you. It's you, but you didn't cross me.
And the Bulldog.
Why did I choose? Why did I just stay in school?
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome, fresh off his lesson in Caribbean stud poker. Bulldog is with us today. I mean, he's been traveling a lot. You might have wondered, is he in Turkey?
That was at the end last night, right? Is that what that was?
Yes.
That was what you were talking about there?
And you've been spotted playing since then. You made it out like you didn't even care, but I guess you cared a great deal. You tried to beat the house in Caribbean stud.
Well, I took all that new knowledge that I was carefully and dutifully paying attention to as you were talking about it. And, I wanted to implement it as soon as I could. So, I left here and went right out.
Why wait?
Yeah.
Why let that just sit?
I don't want to say what venue that I use this expertise because I don't really want to be found out.
Okay.
Like I want to be kind of stealth,
underground.
Just sort of sneak in and out.
Is there underground Caribbean stud?
Oh, there has to be.
I don't think there is.
Come on.
No, you're not playing that with friends. That's a house game. That's a game where you're supposed to lose. Mm-hmm. So you would play straight up. You wanted to bet Manchester United today. You would, if you did it through me, and I just wanted 10%, you would not do that.
No, I definitely wouldn't do that.
So, you just go to your app. You went to some pretty good work here to get this game on.
I did, sure. There were steps involved. The ESPN app had to tell me where Manchester United and Atletico, is that?
Athletic Club.
Athletic Club, thank you. Spanish. Where it was going to be carried. The app had it there, Paramount Plus. So
Paramount Plus.
We
have that?
But first I went into the TV because we often will get games that aren't scheduled to be on what we think are standard broadcast carriers, and we find them on like Spanish-speaking channels.
Fine.
So I went and did that. And instead of Tudden, there was a game listed in this competition, the Europa League semifinals, but it was the other semifinal featuring Tottenham, and I don't know who they're playing. But they're also up 3-1 on aggregate going into the second leg of this. So at that point, I went, okay, well, because that was CBS Sports Network, which is Paramount, affiliated.
Yes.
But then I closed that out, went into the Fire Stick here, and for the first time ever, tried Paramount Plus. It opened with a welcome screen that asked who was viewing.
Yep.
And none
maybe
of
Joe's mom.
None of the people are. I didn't recognize any of the names. Sorry.
Because it's not a work device. It's somebody else's.
Right.
It's Joe's, maybe.
So if I should know the name of Joe's mom from when he got married, I'm sorry that I have forgotten. But anyway, just clicked on that name. Okay, let's try it, and here we are.
I'm not sure I'm right, but
yeah, I don't know either. But I would guess that.
Work would never have Paramount.
No, absolutely not.
Or any other streaming service.
No. We're lucky we get like 2, 4, and 7.
We get Sesame Street.
So
I think is that still? I think we do.
No, budget cuts. That's gone.
That's going to be going away.
I don't really know that. I'm sorry.
What sports team? So here's Manchester United. I know you have, I think, a little, not a casual interest, a little bit above casual.
Probably above casual.
Not,
enough to come in here and know that they were playing today. And, I'm giving myself too much credit. I wasn't thinking about it when I walked in the door. I logged into my Twitter account, and one of the first posts I saw was from a writer from The Athletic that I follow that covers Man United, and was something about the lineup, whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, that's today, and that started that whole process that I just painstakingly
it is
detailed.
May 8th. I mean, with due respect to the all-important rookie minicamp lying ahead here for the Bills in the next couple of days, which sports team do you think about the most right now, like today, or just sort of in general this week, this time of year? This was a tough question for me because, and you got to kind of maybe take work out of the equation because mostly for work, it's going to be Bill stuff.
Yeah.
And I end up thinking about them a lot. But right now, even last week was different. Right now, I'm not in a place where like Bill's stuff is coming easily to me. Like I'm not, especially, it's not just like the time of year, but it's also that I think probably we're looking at another kind of easy season for them. That's what should happen. They're 3 games better in the win totals than the second best in the AFC East, 11.5 to 8.5. And the 11.5 is getting bet up. So with any conversation about wide receivers and the different things, they're expected to be really good. Mm-hmm. And you never know, but I'll settle for that. And so in the first week of May, with the season 4 months out, we've got the draft is over. The schedule is coming up next week. We'll have our fun with that. But otherwise, I don't have a lot to work with. Yesterday I asked you, what are you scared of for them?
Said nothing.
And there's really not much. I mean, you might have a thing out there, but it's really not. It's other teams would have bigger concerns. Maybe almost all other teams. So the Bills are the Bills. The Sabres, so we ran with them yesterday, and that's just, it's newsy, it's interesting and even controversial, but it's also depressing. Mm-hmm. And I don't really like thinking about them, And then who else is in the conversation? Your favorite baseball team, your favorite soccer team,
right?
The Bandits,
golf majors,
but teams.
Right, as far as teams go,
if you make it about which team do you think about the most, like right now?
Well, you're gonna know why right away, but I am paying particular attention to the Oklahoma City Thunder
and the Stars
and the Dallas Stars.
Right, of course.
The first 2 legs of a preposterously large parlay bet on winning championships, and those are the 2 teams on deck. And so last night was a good night after game 1 of the NBA thing didn't go that great for Oklahoma City. But anyway,
plus the East favorites are losing.
Right, that's right.
You can use that.
Hockey definitely is front and center. Like I'm thinking about, I'm watching multiple games a night here, when they're available. And even last night, I tried to sort of shut it down after the first period of the Dallas game, but I was 20 minutes or more went by, and I was still awake, and I was like, I'm just turning it back on. I'm just gonna so I watched the first 2 periods of that. And that's the case most nights here as the playoffs have gotten going. I mean, of course, the games as we get into the second round, there's not as many of them per night anymore. And I think like tomorrow, there's only the one, I think. So I might actually admit that I'm thinking more about Toronto than any other team.
Yeah.
Because of our place The Sabres, Buffalo, proximity, what is supposed to be a rivalry that doesn't feel like much of one anymore.
You didn't even this year get a win over them. Like all these years.
Yeah. You want to talk about emotionally separated from something you've been almost borderline troublingly passionate about? I didn't even realize it didn't beat the Leafs.
I don't think the Sabres got a point from the Leafs.
I did. I just didn't. It didn't even register.
Mm-hmm.
I watched, I'm pretty sure, but I don't remember the results and don't care.
Well,
which is a pain. Well, or even as it was happening, like, whatever. I'm eliminated. You beat me. I certainly wasn't thinking if the game had gone their way that coming in here, we beat the Leafs. No.
5-3, 6-3, 4-0.
Yeah,
were the scores.
Tough. So
tough.
I don't feel great telling our audience this, but I think I'm rooting for the Leafs.
But not against Dallas.
No, not against Dallas. If it comes to that, then all bets are off. Not really. I'll stand with my bet there. The Leafs are the best story, maybe, that you could have. McDavid is still there, so and he's playing Eichel, by the way, if you want that, with Edmonton and Vegas. So the best player of this generation getting there and winning. Maybe can run with the Leafs, I think. But, the fact that so much of our audience has never experienced them being the champion.
And hasn't minded.
Right, that's right.
At all.
It's just been so long, and it's such an important market for hockey that, I don't know, I get torn about it because I don't think I'm supposed to root for Toronto.
I don't know.
But I end up...
Who makes those rules?
Right? Society. These are unwritten rules. These are just things that I think we believe we're supposed to accept and adhere to. But, one of my best friends in the world grew up a fanatic for the Leafs. Knew the players in the 60s who won. Knows where they had their off-season businesses, like a Dairy Queen in Port Colborne, right? John Gale goes all the way back with this.
So me, only older.
Right.
Because when I was a kid, there were no off-season businesses for me to keep track of.
Right. So it's hard for me by proximity not to feel like I'm watching the games and he's texting me, or sometimes we're together and we're watching these games and I feel like I want my friend to be happy, So I don't really have a horse in the race other than the Dallas Stars and a crazy long shot parlay. And I don't know, Toronto, I like the original 6 franchises. I like the old teams. I like the Canadian teams in general. Even though they are, again, Montreal should be a rival, right?
It's time for Canada to win again.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. 32 years. That's crazy. And they have 3 looks at it now.
Yeah.
It's time for them to win again.
They have 3 looks at it, 3 really good looks at it, too.
Yes.
It's not, Montreal made it to the final in the COVID year, and that was just a ridiculous knockoff. They weren't even an actual playoff team to begin with. They got in because of the play-in thing and then got hot and whatever. But yeah, Winnipeg's the President's Trophy winner. They're home for as long as they're alive. They lost last night in Game 1, but still, they're very live. Edmonton is extremely live, and Toronto's up 2-0 on the defending champs. And look great. So I guess Toronto is my answer. What team am I thinking more about? It's Toronto.
Than any other.
Because if I feel a dilemma in admitting that emotionally I feel some attachment to them winning.
Sure. And I don't know. I don't feel anything emotional about them anymore, but I love the story. Every year they've been in the playoffs all these years since, since 10 years ago or something, when they'd been through a patch where they were always bad. But still, however long it's been, they are a story every year for can they actually do it, which, for a while was win 1 round. I guess that probably was how it sounded this year too, is can you actually win 1 round? They found a team in Ottawa that they were superior to and in the playoffs historically always beat. And I was emotionally invested in that in those years, 20, 25 years ago, when they would beat the Senators. The Leafs are a good answer. I don't have a better answer. I don't have a bet, and I'm kind of glad because that's just sort of
a fake way to get in it.
That's not like what it's about. I guess I want to say I do have bets at times, fantasy stuff, whatever. But I don't have an answer really. Like I found myself this morning interested in the Knicks.
Sure, I get that.
And that's also a team I cared about a lifetime ago, but not anymore. I couldn't tell you anything about their roster or anything. I called Trista today. She's coming up because like the NBA thing seems really good right now with Cleveland losing and Boston losing.
Yep.
And Steph Curry is hurt. Like what it all adds up to. So I've got a bunch of teams that are just kind of tied, really. And if I were closer attached to a baseball team, it would be that team. The Blue Jays are always a good season away from there being this for me. Mm-hmm. But that's not happening. So I don't know. The Sabres really should be the answer. It's the playoffs, and what are they going to do? But I'm so far past thinking they're ever going to do anything to just bother with it, Like, it's just not – there's not much of a pulse there. So maybe it's the Bills by default. I do think about the NFL season every day, no matter what time of year it is. That's the schedule, that's the draft, that's free agency, that's – fantasy drafts like I had last night. Different things get me to them. Not so much for what the rookies look like on the field, but, we'll talk to Sal about that tomorrow. And the Bandit thing is really cool.
Yep.
Maybe.
But we got a little lag there, right? The final for that doesn't begin until next weekend.
Yeah, I guess.
So.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't begin tomorrow because Josh Byrne is coming on, and I doubt he would come on if
the game was in 2 hours or something. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
So it's just kind of an interesting pocket of the year.
Yeah.
And the Bills being as good as they are, I don't know. Like I'm not obsessing about what they lack.
Yeah. I hear that. And the Sabres have really left a desert here because, sure, this year is not unlike any of the previous 13 with them not in the tournament, right? So we don't have games to sink our teeth into. But just the idea of investing in what will they do, looking at the list of free agents, right? Getting feedback from what I presume is our audience, just random people who follow me on Twitter that have no idea I'm on the radio. That would be kind of weird and surprising. Mitch Marner, just back the truck up for Mitch. I can't even. That feels like the Bills trying to sign Peyton Manning when he was leaving Indianapolis to me. It's just as far-fetched, as far away as an idea as you can get to me. And that's even acknowledging that he's from the Ontario. He's grew up close by, which is why it's such a nice story that he's had this career already with the Leafs. I just can't even do it. I can't even get to a place where I could spit the words out. Like I can't even say what you would hope could happen. It's preposterous to me. So I just don't even know what to do with them. And that's recognizing that last offseason, while there was not the final big piece of the puzzle move, I think it gets lost here, rightly so. Zucker was a really good move for them. We'll see if re-signing him for 2 more years turns out to be that too, but they got a great year from him at his age for the money they spent on him. And the McLeod trade worked great too. So they added pieces that, should help them still moving forward, but what am I helping them toward? And what else is coming to supplement what is already here? I mean, I just can't imagine. Maybe you can find another couple moves that are similar enough to that, and Eric Stahl can work some magic and convince guys to come. I don't know, but it's just hard to get anywhere on it.
Eric Stahl. Yeah, that was a puzzle again this year with them. It always is something because they did have a few moves that worked out really nicely, and their best players were great. And they were mostly healthy. Like, they didn't have an obvious handicap in this. They just couldn't work. It didn't work on special teams, and they didn't get saves. And so almost never in contention with the season they had. But it's not because the guys that you acquired or the guys that you expect to be your stars failed them. Really didn't go like that.
Everything kind of went as well as you could have hoped on those fronts. Thompson, Tuck, Peterka to an extent, and then the new ads that I just mentioned kind of worked out all right.
78 points.
Yeah.
Right? That's the number? 78, 79
I don't
points.
think I have it memorized anymore. But
I had over 79 and a half.
Oh. Well, then you
79.
Then you should know.
79.
All right.
The Bandits have game one of the finals is next Friday.
Right. Okay.
It'll be here. The other series isn't over yet. Throw out the record books. Saskatchewan and Halifax. Game 2 is Saturday. Here's Paul with us. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Mike. It's interesting the way you brought it up. Which team are you thinking about? Because for me, I'm kind of just so locked into both sets of playoffs. I think both the NBA and the NHL are hitting it out of the park in these playoffs that I'm barely aware that Aaron Judge is in the midst of the best right-handed season ever on my favorite baseball team, because it just doesn't start for me until these playoffs are done. I'm not much of an NBA fan at all, but I find what the Knicks are doing fascinating. You know, Jalen Brunson's ability to hit every clutch shot he takes is amazing, and just the kind of repugnant style the Boston Celtics play basketball, and where they just, you know, they've taken 100 3-pointers in the last 2 games and missed 75 of them. I'm so rooting for the Knicks in that. You couldn't tell me. And I don't really like the NBA, but I'm now rooting for the Knicks because I can't stand the way the Celtics play.
This is more for me where, thanks, Paul, I would need to have a dog in the fight. You know, I don't doubt it. We've talked about it more in terms of hockey than basketball, that the playoffs have been really good. I mean, we had a few nights in a row where the game of the night was incredible. The 2 7th games out west over the weekend.
Saturday, Sunday were tremendous. Yes.
But I don't have a bet. I don't have a team in it.
Yep.
And that is a deal breaker for me in my life. Like, I can respect it. I would never argue that it isn't good, you know, with some old trope about something, you know, that's different about the sport than the way it used to be. Maybe it's 3-pointers. I don't know. Like, I don't think of it like that. But without, you know, I've said this many times in different circumstances, without a team to root for, I'm just kind of out. And, you know, golf, this isn't teams, but with McIlroy at the Masters, you had a guy, not everybody rooted for him, but like that was a really good story, and I love to watch that anyway, but that was an additional, you know, hook, was a player that you're with and you want to see how it goes. And so that was one thing, but hockey and basketball, I just don't have.
Yeah.
You find me one.
That's where we're different in that. Like, I can always just take it in. I mean, I do have the horse in the race in the Dallas Stars, but I mentioned Toronto. Like, the theater of Toronto clinging to these late leads in both of these games with their history, just evident to anyone who pays attention, has been gripping to me. And that's not saying anything about the quality of the play the rest of the game, which to me last night wasn't so great, but you're getting big saves. And the first 2 periods, I did fall asleep during the second intermission of Dallas Winnipeg last night. The goalies in that matchup, and absolutely, sure, Hellebuck's numbers last however many playoff games, I get it. He was a monster last night, and so was Ottinger. Like, they were just trading great saves the first 2 periods of that game. And there were, I think, 5 goals. All the goals were scored in the second period of that game. And it was just tremendous. Like, I don't know what the third period looked like. If Dallas just took the air out of the game, it's possible they did. They can do that. But, man, the first 40 minutes of that game were as good. I found myself thinking about the Four Nations face-off, watching the first 2. It was just... the building was electric. It just looked and sounded great.
Thanks, Paul. Trista Krick. We reacquaint with Trista after a break. We will talk to Greg Wyshynski today as well. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
It's Tatum. Robinson's on him. Tatum maneuvering. Oh, the ball knocked away. Another great defensive play for the Knicks. They've got it. They've won it. New York has gone up 2 games to none.
Knicks over the Celtics. Both the NHL and NBA playoffs have had lots of great nights, lots of highlights. Talking about the playoffs a little bit earlier, Sneaky Joe texts to say that I should get into the Pacers.
Okay.
Now is not the time to do that.
No, right. The time to do that would have been before the series began.
Yes.
I think, right?
The odds from Bet Online. So, as far as I know, Cleveland and Boston were both big favorites in their respective series. The Cavs are down 2 games to Indiana, and Indiana is the series favorite, minus 185. The Celtics are down 2 games to the Knicks, and they are minus 750.
Wow. It does not seem as though there's much belief that the Celtics are toast here. That's what that's.
I mean,
that's
what did it start at?
Right? No kidding.
Current odds, 50. Could that be right? Current odds give. No, that can't be right. I think this is a mistake. That might be where it started. Because they say current odds give the Celtics a 53.5% likelihood of winning the series. That would be shorter than Indiana.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I think they just wrote it wrong. Sorry.
Okay.
That might be where it started. Now it's going to be something like maybe minus 150, but Boston would still be favored.
Yeah.
To win 4 out of 5. Okay, well. Because the other one would be kind of amazing.
Good catch, because if we had started talking about that for even 5 more minutes and then found out it was an error, that would have been that would have been tough.
Yep. We're working to reach Trista. She might sometimes she's not.
Well, she's
her phone is off or different things.
There's all this. She's outgrown us.
Maybe.
She's got the Meta. Right? Was that it? The Meta. She was doing stuff during the.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
I was texting with her this morning, and I was excited to brag to her. For me, this is a brag. That I was able to get my lawnmower running, which was quite an accomplishment, I think.
I don't think that you need the for me thing there. I mean, you had a giant machine dropped off at your house in a crate.
Correct.
That you then had to at least do. Well, I don't know what level of assembly. Like, how much assembling was there to be done?
I think I would say quite a bit. But I didn't build an engine or anything. The battery was already installed, but I had to unscrew some bolts and nuts and then put them in different places to get the seat fastened, to get the battery connected to get the hood snapped on, to get the steering wheel on, and all these different.
Was the mower the deck where the blades are underneath? Was that?
Yes, that was already built.
That was installed.
I didn't have to do any of that.
Okay, because that was my biggest. When you told me about this, I thought that's a lot. Like, I didn't even want to offer to help because I was afraid I would show up and not be able to help, and I didn't want that on my. I didn't want that. I didn't want to have to carry that around.
And I didn't want to ask anybody.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. I didn't want to insult you by asking if you needed help, but I also was intimidated.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I act like, oh, I'll give you a hand with that, and then I show up and I'm like, Jesus, this is a mess. What are you doing here?
Here's what happened. So I've got on my laptop, there's a video on the page where you buy the mower. I ended up buying it online. I'd been to the store to look at it. I decided that I wanted it. It was Saturday. The kids are doing different things. I've got errands to run and stuff. I just went ahead and bought it online. So it gets delivered on Tuesday. And on the page where you can buy the mower is a video from the store, I think. It's either from the manufacturer or from the store.
Right.
But it's a guy. It's like a 3.5-minute long video, moving fast, step by step. I believe there were 14 steps. And I will tell you the rest of this story eventually, because it actually got interesting today. On the West Shore hotline is Trista Krick. How are you, Trista? Been a while.
I'm good, guys. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. You called at a moment where Mike was just starting to explain to us how he built from scratch a riding mower.
Well, that's a little. That's a little.
I'm
more than I
exaggerating
did.
a little.
Put it together. How about that?
Scratch? He had to forge the iron.
Yes, right.
Yes, I had to paint it.
Right.
That's right.
The tires were really tough.
There's this YouTuber, I totally forget her name, and she lives, I believe, either in Thailand or China, and she rebuilds things over the course of many days. The one that you can trip out on is her restoring an old motorcycle that she found on the side of the road.
All right.
And then she tricks it out and turns it into this awesome thing. But she's over there forging metal, and she's doing a sand blaster.
She's got one of them welder's masks and stuff, right? Like Mike doesn't have any of that.
She's doing it in just jean shorts and a t-shirt. She's got no real safety precautions at all. And 40 hours of YouTube later, she's got a brand new sick looking motorcycle. That's how I envision Mike's day to day was.
Yeah, it was close to that. For example,
The
at
shorts
one point,
especially.
Yeah, the only thing that I have in common with her is I wasn't wearing goggles. But at one point, I'm looking through all the different, the videos are always very gentle music, and a person comes along, sounds very friendly, and says, all you need is a few simple tools. Yeah. And the list comes on the screen. What are these things?
Right.
I mean, oh no, a socket wrench. I'm dead. But we got there, and you were one of the first people I thought of to tell, because you are, you're like
projects.
This,
I do
renovate and build.
I'm so proud. I'm absolutely so proud. Today I was going back and forth with my mom on what the ideal size of a tomato planter should be, because she is the queen of resourcefulness, aka in my mind kind of like ghetto stuff, and she just duct tape and just use what she has. And so we've been using 5-gallon paint buckets that have been washed out, obviously, for as long as I can remember. And I haven't had a ton of curiosity around the science of it. So she's been using these 5-gallon tomato planters. Well, they're paint buckets for the tomato planters. And I just researched this today, and every nursery, ChatGPT, which I've, since last talking to you guys, have just become obsessed with, you need at least 15 to 20 gallons for each tomato plant. And that's why we've been getting blossom rot, which is horrible. It makes your tomato basically unedible. And so me and her are going back and forth, and she's like, well, that's just too much soil. I don't want to buy that much soil. I'm like, okay, well, that's why your tomatoes aren't flourishing. So that's the kind of day we've had so far.
All right. You're going to come up with a plan here, I'm sure.
Oh, I have one. We have these they're like fabric. They're made of like almost a burlap bag sort of, or a felt kind of a thing. And they get very heavy, and they're meant for tomato plants. We got them for free from the neighbor, of course, because that's how we roll. And I want to try them, but we're currently just evaluating how much it'll cost for that much soil for 10 tomato plants.
If she's going to get the tomatoes she wants, she's going to have to do it your way. That's the bottom line here.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
If you don't want my help, then don't ask me, and enjoy your rotten tomatoes. Simple.
Even though it is our Mother's Day tradition for the last 30 years.
And it is Mother's Day week.
There's a little bit of... Yeah, and by the way, since the last time we've talked, I have adopted a puppy.
All right. Named?
Little Ollie.
Ollie.
His name is Ollie. He looks like a little miniature Emma. He's a black Pomeranian, but he is just as sweet as pie. Makes no noise. Doesn't do anything. He just lays in your lap for as many hours as you'll let him.
He's not about to start destroying your furniture like my pug and your shoes and different things around the house. That's not coming?
I don't think it's coming. No.
Okay, good for you.
I don't think so.
Good for you.
Congratulations on the destruction, though.
Yes. The NBA playoffs. Trista, talk to us. I mean, I know how rabid a fan you are. Seems pretty good, and maybe even a little bit shocking what's going on right now.
Yeah, I think people are probably, that are casual fans, absolutely shocked that the first 4 or 5 games that we saw in the second round of the playoffs, the road team has won all of them, except for OKC just beat Denver last night, I think it was. Yeah, last night.
They just barely squeaked by them by like 48 or whatever they did.
Yeah, exactly. Just belt to ass. But I think what you're seeing is injuries and bad coaching and a bit of complacency. And the things that we worry about, and it's like, keep this in mind if we see this team falter or collapse. The thing that we've always worried about in terms of the Boston Celtics, because I think that one's the most shocking, is kind of like been the rap for multiple years now, even prior to Joe Mazzulla and Ime Udoka taking over as head coach, all the way back to when Brad Stevens was the coach. When I was living in New York, I had a whiteboard in my living room, and I don't know why this became the only thing on the whiteboard. Don't ask me why. The only thing on the whiteboard was how many times the Celtics had given up a double-digit lead that season. And I believe we got to like over 20 on the year. And that was with Brad Stevens in 2021. So this is a reoccurring theme. And then another reoccurring theme for Jason Tatum is the man simply loves taking threes more than his own family. He simply loves ISO contested step-back threes more than he loves deuce, Tatum. And so that has become something that's reared its ugly head. And the team as a whole is sort of infected with this, we're just going to outmath you and shoot more threes than you, and then we're just going to, beat you to hell. That's a high-variance decision. When those threes don't fall, a team like the Celtics, which is they've got their hard hats on and their lunch pails, and they're going to get very physical with you, coming especially off of playing against Detroit, which that was an extremely physical, gritty, rough and tumble series. I think the Celtics are very shocked by this style of play. And when they went up 20, they took their foot off the gas, continued to take those threes. They weren't falling. And now you got yourself, even though they were up, 15, 14 with 7 minutes left to go, a bunch of zero-pass possessions. New York makes smart decision after smart decision. They've got more endurance than you, and they're built for this a little bit more in terms of like these tight, close games. All I'm trying to say is the Celtics have kind of been front runners, and we've known them to be front runners, and now they have been revealed to us right now as front runners.
Where do you see it going from here? Do you think Boston will make it a series, or do you think they're in real trouble?
I think both things can be true, right? I think at any time, if Boston's focused and Boston does what they're supposed to do, which, they've got a game plan that works. That's why they go up 20 so often on these teams. If you continue to execute that game plan and do not stray from it, they could beat New York 4 times in a row. That's not something that I would be shocked by. But I also think they're probably shook by losing 2 games at home, and now they're going to Madison Square Garden, which is, a very tough place to play. So I think that they can do it. It's just a matter of whether they will, and I have no clue about that. And then in terms of Cleveland, I just think they're, like Boston, because I didn't mention this, just sort of decimated by injuries, right? Like where Tatum's got an injury, Jaylen Brown's got an injury, Kristaps Porzingis still has that illness, Jrue Holiday still has an injury he's got lingering. Same thing with the Celtics. You've got, Darius Garland has turf toe, which I don't know why people are poo-pooing that. That's a real injury. We know as football fans that's nothing to be played with. You've got a role player in DeAndre Hunter with a dislocated thumb, and then you've got Evan Mobley with a sprained ankle, and now you've got Donovan Mitchell. He's going to play, but he's banged up as well. So the Pacers have gotten a little injury luck, and on top of that, the Pacers are just one of those teams that have a penchant for coming back regardless of how big the lead is.
Are we into TK Pucks mode yet? It is May.
I'm going to need more than a day's notice for TK Pucks.
Okay, all right. That's fair.
Well, what about out west? I was watching Game 1 of that series between the Nuggets and the Thunder, And I was on an airplane, and as we were approaching landing, the game turned off. They were up 9 with half the fourth quarter to go, and lo and behold, they lost at the end, but then bounced back. They I assume are in command. Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I think Denver kind of punted game 2. I think they started resting their starters in the middle of the second quarter. They're old. They're an old-ass team. And so I think and they're a thin-ass team. So if you're going to make it a series with OKC, you're going to need to just concede and try to take the rest so that you can live to fight another day instead of expending a lot of energy on a game you're probably going to lose anyway. So I think that was smart. I do think OKC should win that series, while Denver should have lost, though, to the Clippers. So anything's possible there. And then in terms of the Warriors versus the Timberwolves, that series is actually on tonight, but really interesting and fun because Jimmy Butler has turned into this malcontent in Miami. That's kind of been his rap, right? With Minnesota, with Chicago, with Philly, with Miami. And now he goes to Golden State, and he's found his quote-unquote joy again. He and Buddy Hield are making jokes at the podium, and they're making T-shirts called Excluding Buddy, and they're calling Buddy the butler out of the Batman Robin sort of like scenario. And Buddy Hield had an awesome Game 7 and an awesome Game 1 against Minnesota. And now Steph is out, right? And so Steph has got the first strained hamstring of his entire career. He's crying to Steve Kerr, and they find a way to win. And, like, as much as I can't stand our Dubs, this is a team that you can kind of pull at your heartstrings a little bit if they can hold down the fort until Steph Curry gets back. If they don't, I still rock with Ant Edwards and everything that he's about on the court and everything that he does in terms of snatching souls of superstars, which he's had a bunch of guys that he's taken down already. Kevin Durant and Jokic and Luka and LeBron and, potentially Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. That would be one hell of a resume. But I think that is going to be quite the series as well.
Trista, good luck with your mom's tomatoes and everything else.
Thank you. Ollie says hi.
Ollie says
hi. Ollie.
Hi from Margot and Fred.
Until next time, Ollie.
Thank you, Trista. Good insight, as always, on the playoffs. TK Pucks, you're in it or you're not. It's fine. I'm not in stuff.
It could make you feel a little bit like she was only entertaining the TK Pucks thing because of her appearances with us.
And I think it was more of her job then. Like she was on
doing other topics.
That night show.
Yeah, now she's more focused on basketball.
I think so, which is great.
Yep.
We'll talk some Bills here. The schedule is Wednesday. The league announced when they're going and where they're going to start leaking certain games. So let's talk some schedule. What do you want? Week 1, Week 18, home away, night games, all of it. 803-0550. We'll also do some more Stanley Cup playoffs today. More than just asking Trista if she's following it. With Greg Wyshynski from ESPN, that'll be at 5. Lines are open for you. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. Welcome back. We'll be looking for your calls again very soon. 803-0550 is the number. Greg Wyshynski joining us at 5 today. ESPN has both of tonight's games. Washington and Vegas are the two home teams. The NFL, I saw it through Warren Sharp, put out dates and networks for when they're going to start announcing certain games. I mean, could this league, is there anything left to do? Apparently there must be.
You're going to get the schedule for when Good Morning America is going to tell us the first Monday Night Football games.
Exactly. Right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That, by the way, since you brought that one up, that'll be on Tuesday.
All right.
Which game? Like an ESPN game.
I got to wait all the way till Tuesday, man.
Well, Monday, we have NBC on the Today Show. They're first.
All right.
Fox at some point. Prime at some point. ESPN on Good Morning America on ABC Tuesday. CBS Mornings, Bulldog, on Wednesday. Get them out in the morning so we can talk about them all day. And then also Netflix will be on Wednesday. I guess that's everybody?
Wow. Yeah.
And then Wednesday night for the whole thing. So it might not be until Monday when we get the first reveal.
But with that many carriers, it feels like, I don't know, what's the over-under on number of Bills games we might know by Wednesday morning after this last?
One.
Only one?
1.5.
1.5, I think, has got to be the number.
I think you'd want to use all different teams, maybe. Maybe not. Because you don't have to pick week one. Like NBC goes first, maybe that's the opener.
Yeah, right. Maybe the first Sunday night game, but I don't know. The opener for sure, though.
Right.
Netflix is going to tell you what Christmas is, right?
Yeah.
They have all 3 Christmas games.
Do they?
I think so.
I don't know. Last year there were 2.
There were only 2, so maybe they. I don't know what the details are there, but if you think the Bills are live to play on Christmas, like there's a game you could find out.
That's right.
Ahead of time, and then what else do we have there? Like what is CBS doesn't have like a prime time venue, so what are they announcing?
I think they announced Chiefs Bills last year, or was it the year before? Because both of those games were CBS.
Yeah,
425 games.
Right.
Where Kevin, that won account, tweeted, "I can't wait for the Bills to win this game and then feel nothing." I still love that line, which is what it was.
Yes.
I mean, the Allen run was pretty great. Felt great. It wasn't that everybody was sort of numb, but it's another year into that where the Chiefs win in the playoffs again. And what are you supposed to do with this meeting? I would guess, for no reason other than the obvious, that game, again, would be like a November game. Could be October. They've played them then, too, but not super early or super late.
Yeah.
But we'll see next week. 803-0550 for your thoughts. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Next step of the NFL offseason is going to begin tomorrow for the Bills as rookie minicamp is going to get underway and run through Saturday. Coverage of Bills rookie minicamp on WGR is presented by Figo Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. The Panthers made a number of moves today. They have released edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney after just 1 year. The 32-year-old did have 5.5 sacks last season. And they also have placed running back Jonathan Brooks on the physically unable to perform list, thus ending his 2025 season before it could even begin. Brooks suffered a torn ACL in Week 14, his second ACL tear in as many years. The Anaheim Ducks have officially hired Joe Quenneville to be the team's next head coach. Quenneville has been out of the NHL since 2021 following the fallout of the investigation of the Chicago Blackhawks. The investigation showed the Blackhawks organization failed to properly address allegations by player Kyle Beach that he was sexually assaulted by video coach Brad Aldrich during the team's 2010 Stanley Cup run. Quenneville was the head coach during that time, and the NHL did determine that he, along with then GM Stan Bowman and then executive Al McIsaac, were ineligible to work for any other NHL teams. The ban, though, was lifted in July of 2024. Bowman has since been hired by the Oilers as their general manager. 2 games in the Stanley Cup playoffs, 7 p.m. Washington hosts Carolina. Then at 9:30, Vegas is at home versus the Oilers. Edmonton and Carolina lead those series 1-0. Just 1 game in the NBA. Minnesota hosts Golden State. That game at 8:30. Steph Curry out tonight due to a hamstring strain. He's also expected to miss Game 3 on Saturday. Then the Bisons, they take on the Saints in Minnesota just after 7:30. That game's going to be over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp
We were having a very serious conversation about mayonnaise here.
and the Bulldog
And don't even talk to me about weed.
on WGR Sports Radio 550.
You ever hear about putting mayonnaise on a turkey? You ever hear anybody do that?
You mean as you're cooking it?
Yeah.
No.
A podcast I like, a baseball podcast I like, CBS. One of the guys on that show, Chris Towers, was talking about how good it is. He said he got it from the New York Times.
There has to be
basting
has
a
to be
turkey
real with mayonnaise.
in mayonnaise. Yeah. Just first reaction, pass.
Ew.
First reaction is kind of like never ever.
What does mayonnaise smell like after it sits in your oven for 10 minutes?
It might be good. He said the key to it is there's a high smoke point.
Well, that stands to reason. Yeah.
Would it really even be noticeable? If you didn't know this turkey you were eating on Thanksgiving had been basted in mayonnaise, maybe you would just think some magic trick has happened. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think I'd want to tell people that I did it at turkey dinner, that I did this to their turkey.
Yeah.
Covered it in mayonnaise before putting it in the oven.
I don't. Yeah. And then continue to do that as it's cooking.
Just get the spatula going every once in a while and just lather it back up.
Yeah.
With Hellman's. May your Thanksgiving dinner be delicious.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I love any turkey sandwich, mayo.
Right. See, there you
turkey
go.
Sub, mayo.
Yep.
Of course. Right.
There's a connection right there.
Man, basting an entire turkey in mayo. I don't know, man. I'm just really the smoke factor. I just feel like that could be really pungent.
Not for you.
Yeah.
You don't really. Well, you're going to say, I don't need to make it better. I don't need to take this chance. But you might not say that because, people tend to complain about turkey and that it's far from the highlight of the meal.
Yeah. I used to be like that. I don't, prepared properly, cooked the right amount of time. It's fantastic.
It's okay.
I think it's fantastic if it's done right.
Okay.
I like it a lot. I like it more than you. Although I am still pretty disappointed that year. It was a couple years ago that we scrambled for a turkey late. Hosting Thanksgiving dinner, somehow Wednesday morning we still had no turkey.
Yeah.
And so we sent the oldest son out to the store, and he sent me back a picture of some sort of range-free, whatever, like the turkey. $200 turkey or something.
Heirloom.
Like, what in the world is happening here? It's the only option. Okay, here we go. I got a bit for the radio. I'm blowing $200 on a friggin' turkey for Thanksgiving, and it was good.
It's fine.
It was, yes.
We'll get to the Bills here. Bobby is on WGR. Hi, Bobby.
How you doing, Mike? I wanted to weigh in on the whole mayonnaise on the turkey thing.
The whole mayo on the turkey thing that we've been talking about for weeks.
Please.
So it's basically an egg wash and oil mixture, which works really good at browning things. So it would work really good on a turkey. I use it to make grilled cheese sandwiches all the time, and they come out perfect.
I've heard that too. The same podcast, the guy mentioned that too. Grilled cheese. So
yeah. So honestly, I would try it.
All right, good. Thanks, Bobby. Good to have somebody other than me, secondhand, vouch for this idea.
See, the grilled cheese, the kids do this. They grill sandwiches. They use mayo instead of butter to do that. So I've seen that, and that does not result in like a smoky mess. I just think the problem I'm having here is not the combination of mayo and turkey. Fine. I mean, I stand strong behind mayo as the number one condiment for a turkey sandwich. It's just in the oven for that long. I don't know. I just feel like
it doesn't sound good, but apparently it is good.
I think it would brown it too fast, even. But all right. Hey, listen.
I guess it's done.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying is I guess it's done. Here's that heated conversation about mayonnaise you have all been waiting for to have come back to the show. CJ is with us. Hello.
Hey, gentlemen. How you doing?
Good,
I
thanks.
do not touch my turkey unless it's deep fried and after the fact. But I just had a random question. It's the off season. It could be nothing. Maybe I'm hopeful. As far as Keon Coleman, I just wanted to know, with the addition of Elijah Moore, having Palmer on the team, and most teams playing man defense against the Bills, at least until Cooper joined the team, what corner, does Coleman do better against a lesser corner, meaning the third corner or fourth corner, because you have Shakir, Palmer, and hopefully Elijah Moore makes a team? What corner do they put on Coleman, and does that give him a chance to do even better because he's having a lesser defender against him, if that makes sense?
Well, I mean, it stands to reason that it would be helpful to any player to have, to be perceived as the guy least worthy of your attention. So therefore, the trickle down, you're going to get, your least talented defender, at least on that position, on him. That's one of the things that I think the Bills might. I shouldn't say it that way because I don't know that they feel this way. I don't know that I've heard them, Bean, McDermott, Allen actually say this. But I think the question CJ poses is a reason the Bills like the model of everybody eats as much as they do. Because to an extent, I think what they're trying to do is neutralize. If you've got a guy that can shut down my best guy, it's wasted on me because I'm not going to favor one guy. One guy, you're going to go into the game not knowing what to do with your best guy. And he's going to take someone away, but everybody's sort of equal here, and so it doesn't matter that much. I don't know. They got through. They got through. I mean, they did great last year with it. I don't know what to expect for Coleman as far as that goes. I think as the season begins, once they start playing, if he flashes, then he's going to get attention. And that goes for anybody on the team. I think even maybe Shakir. Like if Shakir were to be fed to such an extent that a team would go, all right, our slot corner's not enough. We need to do something else. We need to put Jalen Ramsey on this guy because he's killing us. Then maybe you'll see that. But I don't think you get an answer to that until the games start and if someone emerges as the number one target on the team. Otherwise, teams might just go with you're playing the left, you're playing the right, and it doesn't really matter who's running patterns.
Yeah, this was part of the conversation before the playoff game against Denver, which was about Patrick Surtain and the Broncos having this shutdown corner, and, well, how valuable is that? in a matchup against a team that throws the ball to so many different players. And the Bills did win that game easily. 8 different players caught passes for the Bills in that game, and only Shakir had more than 3. Ended up being kind of a runaway. But that's kind of what that was. And again, like you said, you always want a weaker matchup for a guy. Coleman is maybe the biggest question I have about them at all, anywhere, is him. And if he doesn't produce, like if he doesn't take a step, are they in tough? Are they in bad shape if that doesn't happen? No, I think they're covered. What they have chosen not to do is, one way or another, bring in somebody dangerous. Like, nobody on the Bills is dangerous at that position. They're all okay. They're all varying degrees of pretty good. And, that's intentional. That's the philosophy. That's what they pivoted to when they dumped Diggs, and it was successful. And much like last year, when we saw them run the ball a lot more late in the season and win games, and then made as a takeaway that they would want to keep doing that because they were successful at it, they did. And that is exactly what happened. And they were successful again for an entire season. So I doubt that will be different. And all the wide receiver hubbub of recent days, and they're not addressing it seriously in the draft, is more evidence. This year, it's the action or the inaction at the position in the draft, due respect to Josh Palmer and that signing, plus Brandon Beane's words. And so there's just no reason to think they don't have the guy for it. It isn't Coleman, and it's not going to kill him if Coleman doesn't, make a huge step forward this year, because they have a lot of guys they can call on.
Yeah, so many, in fact, that I never got around to spitting this out yesterday, but I think Coleman, I'm glad it came up today. Coleman being how did you just describe it? Maybe your biggest concern or biggest question mark you might have about, like, who's going to be doing what, who can you really count on? I think the best case I could make for bringing Gabe Davis back would be because of that. But like Sal was saying yesterday when we talked with him, like, you're not bringing him back as your 6th guy, as a guy that's potentially inactive or something. Like, he's probably right back where he was, on your team. It might be weird given how popular he was and what a hard worker he was if he wasn't in that role. And I just don't think they'd want to block Coleman that way. But having some insurance, could be useful. Like, they're not the same player, but size-wise, down the field, I mean, that's what Davis was. Coleman, we don't really have that much of a sample to really pigeonhole him as to how they're going to deploy him, how they're going to use him, other than the odd, back shoulder jump ball type stuff. So I don't know if that really works. But to me, that's the best. If somebody wanted to come, the best idea for Davis, if you wanted to come say, I'm worried about Coleman, I think you should get Davis back, I think I got to listen to that at least, a case be made. I always wanted to do better than Gabe Davis, but we're where we are. Who's available is who's available. And I like if you felt like you needed another guy, especially an outside guy, I'd listen to Davis even before I would listen to Amari Cooper coming back.
But would you not agree, consider a Davis return very unlikely?
Yeah, because I think they are going to want to see Coleman through. Right. That's exactly.
And how many times can you get away with saying you don't feel like criticizing their lack of, effort addressing wide receiver is out of line, and then keep signing wide receivers? Like, Elijah Moore was the same day that they had brought him in, and he was signed a couple of days later. There really can't be much more of that, if any more of that, coming down the road here, the way Brandon Beane was so defiant about how they didn't need to do it and, doesn't appreciate any idea to the contrary. Let's go to Zach next. Hi, Zach.
Hey, guys. If you'll oblige, I'd love to jump back to the schedule talk here.
Sure, of course.
This totally falls under the probably too good for opening weekend game, but I think Baltimore at Buffalo Sunday Night Football Week 1 is money. I mean, again, you could do that game Week 1, Week 10, whenever, but just the storyline there I think is so good for opening weekend. I mean, you have reigning MVP versus past MVP. I mean, it's just too good. I like Jets at Buffalo on Christmas as well. I don't think the schedule makers are taking jersey colors into account really at all when they're making games. But I mean, come on, you put the Bills in those candy cane jerseys versus Jets in their green on Netflix, like, let's go. That's Christmas literally right there. So and then I would do Dolphins the following week to close out the stadium. That's what I would do.
Thank you, Zach. That's the colorblind game. Red versus green. We're not going to get red versus green again, I think.
I don't think they will allow that to happen again. I think, yeah. That was a Thursday night game.
Thursday night, color rush, and I guess maybe they didn't realize that to people who are colorblind, those teams would look the same. Travis Yost said that about that Bills-Jets game.
Yep.
So I doubt they would do that again.
It's your point. Like, this game is too good for too early, right? Too good for the opener. Too good. So that's in the back of my mind here, thinking about it. Ravens Bills, I could totally see. Like, if I were allowed to place wagers on the most likely Week 1 outcomes, like Week 1 games for the Bills. I feel like I would, depending on what the odds were, and that would probably be short odds because I think that's a juicy matchup. The caller just said it. The last two MVPs in the league, and there's going to be a lot of appeal there. So I could see. I wouldn't rule that game out for me. It's not Bills Chiefs. It's very, very close. And maybe maybe someday the Ravens will be our problem, or we'll be the Ravens' problem, or something. We kind of are the Ravens' problem. I mean, they haven't beaten us in the playoffs, twice. We've got that over them at least here during this 5-year window that we're still enjoying. I like that game as a Week 1 night game.
I could see it. I understand. What's my problem with it?
Too good?
Not so much too good. And this really, I think my problem right now in articulating this is just like, who knows anything? It's hard enough with actual games. This is what happened. This is what went wrong, whatever. It's hard enough sometimes. The schedule is just like totally a guess. What would, you could have all the right thoughts and still don't know that, oh no, because there's, a Neil Diamond concert or something. Like it's just, you could just have it nailed. I'd want for the Sunday night opener, so Philadelphia will play on the Thursday night. And what's possible there? A lot of things. I think, Washington is good. Rams are okay. Even Chicago or Detroit are okay. I kind of like the Washington idea. But Philadelphia will play...
Even Dallas.
Philadelphia will almost definitely play an NFC opponent on the Thursday night. So if it matters, Sunday night, I can turn to the AFC. And I just think Kansas City they're the bigger draw, right? Buffalo's a great draw, but Kansas City is Kansas City. And I think they're a better story coming off that loss. I'd want to see the Chiefs there, I think. And that doesn't have to be a home game either. Like Kansas City
right
at Dallas is on the schedule this year. Dallas being Dallas. Like maybe that works. They could also, however, get the Friday night. That's been the rumor that Friday night in Brazil, which will involve the Chargers, will be the Chiefs and the Chargers.
Ooh.
And so we'll see if that's true. Then they're off the board if that happens. And I've also had an AFC game if it matters. Then maybe you're back to, if you're thinking this way, which you don't have to be, then you can maybe see the Bills there on the Sunday. I mean, there are so many good choices.
And to further the point about so much that we don't know. CBS has had the Chiefs and Bills the last 2 years 425, and I don't know how protective the networks are allowed to be about that sort of stuff. Like, I just don't know how the machinations of that work with the league, with the team. I'm sure everyone's got preferences. Teams have preferences. Networks would have preferences. Does NBC have a right to at some point stand up and go, hey, it's been 4 years since we've had Bills Chiefs. Enough already with Nance and Romo. Can we get it, please? And that's a fly in the ointment right away to Ravens Bills being a Sunday night game, because I doubt that NBC would get both of those games. CBS could be maybe talked into, hey, you've had Bills Chiefs all these years. Why don't we let NBC have that and you can have Bills Ravens? Again, I'm just wildly guessing, but I think those are marquee games that any network would want to have. And so maybe there's a process where, they got to choose one or the other, and the odd man out gets the other game.
I like the idea of Bills at Patriots being a night game early. Doesn't have to be early. I'm thinking about Diggs. We've talked about this one. Diggs isn't so top of mind for you when it comes to them, but they're sort of an interesting story, the Patriots, and I'd want to put Buffalo there like they did the Jets a couple of years ago to see if they're up to the test, if the Patriots are up to that test. I'm sure that the people who put the schedule together are, at least to some extent, think about this differently than I do. A storyline like that, somebody who makes the schedule could be like, oh, we don't think about things like that. We're not looking to test anybody. We're trying to get eyeballs. But I'm looking for storylines. And I got a couple more I'll give you here, because we haven't done any, Sal and I too haven't done any week 1 primetime predictions. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's next week. So I'll give you a couple more thoughts on this as we go. Coming up at 4:45 or thereabouts, we're going to talk to Adam Durant. He is a part of the Ride for Roswell coming up in June. Bulldog is riding. It's a huge event, big initiative at the station, too, is to promote Ride for Roswell and help with the fundraising effort there. So we'll talk to one of the riders. At 5, Greg Wyshynski, ESPN. They have doubleheader tonight in the NHL playoffs, and we'll catch up then with Greg. 803-0550 for your calls. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Of the NFL offseason is going to begin tomorrow for the Buffalo Bills. Rookie minicamp will get underway and run through Saturday. Coverage of Bills rookie minicamp on WGR is presented by Fiegel Car and Joyce Your Border Attorneys and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. The Ravens made a number of moves today. They've released edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney after just 1 year. The 32-year-old did have 5.5 sacks last season, and Carolina has also placed running back Jonathan Brooks on the physically unable to perform list, thus ending his 2025 season. Brooks did suffer a torn ACL in Week 14 of last year, his second ACL tear in as many years. 2 games tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs, 7 p.m. Washington hosts Carolina. Then at 9:30, Vegas is home versus the Oilers. Edmonton and Carolina lead those series 1-0. One game in the NBA, Minnesota hosts Golden State at 8:30. Steph Curry out tonight due to a hamstring strain. He's also expected to miss Game 3 on Saturday. And the Bisons take on the Saints in Minnesota just after 7:30. That game's going to be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I'm looking right away for how many days in between each game, where the short weeks are going to be, and then where the longer weeks are going to be as well, to maybe catch up on some rest, or we can, hey, during this week, we can actually work on one of our short week opponents a little bit, like one phase. We'll just look at third down perhaps. So just always trying to find a competitive advantage in everything we're doing.
Sean McDermott on Sal's podcast with Matt Bove, that right there, talking about the schedule and what the head coach looks for first when the schedule is released. He and I are different in that way. I think the first thing, one of the first things I think about, which isn't that totally different than what he said, is the bye week. And that's a little bit for fantasy, but mostly for like, all right, I'll have this week off.
Right.
This weekend off at least. And, you know,
is it early? Is there like, you know, long weekend leaves changing opportunities?
Right? Leaves peeping.
If it, you know, extends into mid-season, well, then there's probably not that. But yeah.
Birthday.
Yeah. As it turned out this past season for me, it worked out. I definitely didn't know this when the schedule came out, but as it turned out, there was a concert in Boston that my whole family wanted to go to, and I felt completely freed up to go to the concert because the Bills weren't playing that week. Mm-hmm. Easy peasy. Worked out pretty well for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting to hear him talk about, like, do work ahead of time on certain opponents. Like, you know, look, if we've got extra time, we can devote some time to a game, you know, 2 or 3 weeks down the line that we're not going to have a lot of time for because it's, like he's saying, like Sunday to Thursday or something. So let's squeeze in something very specific, like he said, third down or something. Work on certain packages for an opponent that isn't necessarily the next opponent in line. It does, that flies a little bit in the face of, you know, I don't know who we're playing next.
No, I never buy that anyway. This is a year where the Bills will have 9 home games and 8 away. It alternates now. So all the NFC teams with their partners will play at the AFC. This is the 5th year of that. 17 games. One of the years the Bills had a game canceled. They only played 16 with the DeMar Hamlin game. But they've played these extra NFC teams 4 times, and they have won them all. Washington, the first year, had won the NFC East. They came here, and the Bills blew them out. At the Rams the next year in the season opener, the night game, was it a Thursday night game against Tampa or a Monday night? Thursday night? The Bucs a couple of years ago. That game was the extra game. And I think it was Thursday. The Denver game was the Monday.
I think that's right.
And then last year at Detroit, that was the extra game. The Bills played the NFC West, and their extra game was the NFC North champion. So they've played they've won the division every one of these years going in. They've played a first-place team from the previous year every time. They've won them all. This year, that game is the Eagles, because they play the NFC South plus first place in the NFC East. Is it not amazing that no team has won that division 2 years in a row for more than 20 years?
It is incredible, yes.
There are only 4 teams.
Right.
You'd think somebody would go back-to-back. Philadelphia would be favored to do that. this year, but Washington's good. Maybe even Dallas. I don't know about the Giants. I do know about the Giants. They're not going to be good.
Bad?
I am putting a Giants game, reserve the right to change my mind. For now, I am putting a Giants game in my Week 1 primetime schedule.
Bold.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, are they interesting, maybe? Russell Wilson. Oh, I just thought of another reason why I like this. Somebody tell Sal. I'm going Thursday night opener, Washington, Philadelphia, NFC Championship rematch, Super Bowl winner, huge markets, rivalry, everything. It's great. Sal points out that they don't often have division games in the past in that spot, but no rule against it. It has happened. Not in a long time, though. So we'll see. Friday night, also division game, Kansas City at the Chargers. The Chargers will play on the Friday night, and there's been speculation that it might be against the Chiefs. Okay. Sunday night, I like this. It's also a division game. I like the Bills' idea, but I think I like Detroit at Chicago for that game. Is that interesting enough for you? The Bears now have the Lions' offensive coordinator.
I think it is. Yes. Yes. 2 years ago, when the Lions got the opener in Kansas City, I didn't think that they deserved that yet. And they went on to have an incredible season and have been pretty much a power ever since. And so good job. And then they won that game, too, in Kansas City. The Bears aren't quite the Lions yet, but it is Chicago, the number 1 overall pick last year, the coach, the Lions. That all works. Like that, they'll want to get the Bears on in prime time, and a way to make sure it doesn't get sideways on them before it happens is to have them then.
That's true.
Let's just do this now before we get 6 weeks in and it's like, what's still wrong with Caleb Williams? Okay, whatever. So I like that game.
Detroit at Chicago is compelling. And then for the Monday night, let's all just take a little bit of a breath here because we've had these intense rivalry storyline games, division games. Monday night, the Giants at Vegas. They've put Vegas in that spot at least once, I think maybe more than once. Monday night, home, Week 1. Pete Carroll, Russ. I hadn't thought about that for this, but New York.
Will there be 2 games? We don't know that yet.
They stopped doing that.
Okay.
Maybe there will, but I've not heard that there will. I think they're not doing that anymore.
They did it randomly during the season last year.
They did like Week 3, maybe also Week 2, but Week 3 there were 2 Monday night games. A couple of times, maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
There were 2 Monday night games, but it did not include Week 1. But, I like the point you made about the Bears. Get them on before they stink.
Right.
And the Giants, I think there's a lot to say about the Giants.
Same point could hold.
Right? I mean...
Well, they're going to want to get them on.
They'll be on New York.
Because they're New York, so that's going to happen.
I think the Raiders are interesting, kind of marquee franchises. I don't think it matters so much that they're not good. I like that game, Giants-Raiders. All the storylines with the Raiders and a couple good ones with the Giants, too.
Yeah. I haven't given any of this really barely an ounce of thought, so I don't want to just disagree with you about that game just to be argumentative.
By all means.
But I know. I just don't have a better idea to present to you. But I would think that I can do 20 games that are better than that.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. I mean, I'm sure you can.
Right. I would guess that that's a long shot at this point.
Oh yeah, all of them are.
Well, okay, sure.
They have to be.
Right.
They have to be. But I mean, there's just no end to how many games you could argue for. There's almost no end to it.
Yeah.
Getting the Niners on would be big. We haven't, the Bills, of course, Baltimore, countless possibilities.
How in the world did I believe enough in the Bills at the Jets season before last to bet on it with you?
It was Rodgers related. Yeah, I mean, that was a great bet. I said it. I was happy to pay. You win on, you predict one of these, you deserve it. Right. If you do that correctly. Next, we're going to talk about the upcoming Ride for Roswell with one of the riders Adam Drought. That's coming up. Greg Wyshynski joins us at 5. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Bulldog, it's World Donkey Day.
No kidding.
Yeah. No kidding. Really, that's today? I thought that was in August. Yes, it is World Donkey Day. So just keep donkeys in mind.
I've had donkeys on my mind.
Have
the
you?
last day that we were in Colorado, as we were just bumping around some little old mining town, we came across, I don't know, a dozen or so pickup trucks with trailers, and they were unloading donkeys.
Love it. They were getting ready for today.
I guess.
I think is probably what that was.
It was training for Donkey Day.
Joining us now on the West Her Hotline is Adam Drought, representing the upcoming Ride for Roswell. Adam, Mike, and Chris here, and let me first say my apologies for mispronouncing your name earlier. It's totally my error. I wrote it on the board. We were ready, but my U looked like an N, and I blew it. So,
well, at least you didn't call me a donkey.
No, never would.
We're the donkeys.
We are the donkeys in this scenario.
Hey, guys, I just want to say thanks for having me on. Long-time listener and actually a first-time caller, so thanks for taking my call.
First time caller, he gets the hotline. Bam. You didn't even have to.
Right, yeah, you've got the secret code now. Don't pass that around, Adam. Don't be careful. Yeah.
This is the 30th anniversary of Ride for Roswell, and I understand that it's very special to you.
It is, yeah. Being a cancer survivor, the 30th anniversary to me is pretty special. I actually rode in the very first one in 1996, and then coming back now for the 30th. This will be I believe my third year in a row riding since I've had my diagnosis of multiple myeloma in 2001. So being a survivor now, it definitely means a lot more to me. And being that it's the 30th year and we're trying to hit that $6 million goal, it's a pretty cool deal. And we're definitely looking forward to the last week in June.
I knew about the anniversary, Adam. I've only been riding. This will be my 4th year. And I've said every year, right from the first year I did it. And I'm sort of, I feel a little bittersweet about learning that it began in 1996. I mean, I know how math works, so I could have figured out when it started. That's the first year I was on the radio, really. And I didn't think to get involved in this until a few years ago. And I wish I had been doing it all this time, because I just think it is one of the most spectacularly well-run events for the magnitude, the size of it. I mean, I can't speak to every site and every route, but the routes I've ridden, it's impeccably run for an event that has as many participants as it has.
Absolutely. I think last year we had upwards of 8,000 riders. And then you got the Celebration of Hope that they do the Peloton ride from the Ride for Roswell, or actually from Roswell Park to UB. Let's see. And that's Friday night.
Yep.
And then Saturday they got the routes going all day. Anything from, I believe, a 2 or a 3 mile ride all the way up to like a 100-mile professional ride. And the past 2 years they've done a Canada ride as well. They've introduced that again.
Yep.
So that's pretty neat.
Our guest is Adam Drought, talking about the Ride for Roswell, which is coming up in late June. I'm told you're a top fundraiser each year, and you would know, Adam, through your life experience, how valuable the money is in this case.
Absolutely. The money that gets raised through the Ride for Roswell specifically goes towards a lot of cancer research that are groundbreaking to new treatments, as well as hopefully one day a cure. Because ultimately, when people hear the word cancer, they ultimately think of a death sentence, and Roswell Park's trying their darndest not to make it a death sentence, and give you back all the quality of life that you deserve.
How did you start? When did you get it? You said you did the first one. Did I hear that right?
I believe so. Yeah. It was 1996, and we had kind of a little mountain biking group. We just kind of rode, and back when we were younger, so it was just something we did just for fun, and we didn't even really know what we were getting involved in. So yeah, looking back and just seeing some old photos, it was really kind of surreal to see us in 1996
I'll
T-shirt.
bet it's amazing to think about. Like I've been doing the fundraising, myself as an individual, and now we have the WGR team the last couple of years, and obviously Facebook and social media, Twitter and Blue Sky, and all the different outlets you've got. I can't imagine like pre-internet or very early internet days, pre-social media internet days, how in the world you would manage to fundraise.
Literally, I walked around from door to door, just going to family members, and then they just had to like write down. And I think back then they actually sponsored you by the mile, so I think we did the 60 or an 80-mile ride. So back when we were in shape.
Right. Every year, and, I get done with the 45. That's the ride we've done the 3 years. My friends and some people now, the group is growing with the station being as involved as they are. And we get done with the 45 and talk about, while we're eating lunch and having some refreshments, like, we should do 65 next year. And then a few weeks go by and I'm like, no. Yeah, right. I don't think I got another couple hours in me on the bike here.
Yeah, seriously. It's quite an endurance test, but hey, the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches along the way kind of make up for it. So,
right.
Adam, tell us about your interest in sports. You said you've been listening to us for a while. We've been here a while.
Oh, gosh. Avid hockey fan. Got Buffalo Bills season tickets. Actually, we renewed them for the new stadium here a couple weeks ago, so real excited about that. The biggest thing I'm real interested in and real anxious to see is the very last game in Highmark Old Stadium and the very first game in the new stadium. And hopefully the last game in the old stadium is an AFC Championship game win. That's what I'm most excited about.
That'd be good. Do you find Bulldog's constant references to fantasy football annoying?
No, not at all.
Good.
I mean, it keeps us all going,
Yes, I agree with that. I want more from him, actually. No kidding.
There you go.
Well, thank you, Adam. It's a pleasure to know you. And the ride is coming up. Anything else you want to share about whether it's a fundraising piece or something else that you can tell us?
Really, you can go to rideforroswell.org and sign up. You can join any amount of teams. You can join up by yourself. And we look forward to helping us raise money. And ultimately, every dollar that we raise goes towards $23 in extra funding. So it's absolutely huge, and like I said, we're looking to hit that $6 million goal this year. So any amount of donations to any organization and any team will go towards making a huge difference.
Very good. Adam Drought, our guest. Good luck with your health. Enjoy the ride at the Ride for Roswell next month, and also thanks for being a listener of ours.
Hey, no problem. I look forward to meeting you guys in June.
All right. I'll see you out on the road, Adam. Really, great job. Rideforroswell.org is where you can find it. And if you're following us or me on social media, I'll get a link out there to the WGR team fundraising page. And, if you want to act on, the conversation we just had. Saturday, June 28th, by the way, University at Buffalo North Campus is like the hub, and it's just an operation. There's coming and going starting. I think we'll be going out with the very first group like 6 a.m. or 6:20, whatever the time is, and then it's just all day, just different groups, different amounts of distance, and it's just a tremendous event. So we appreciate any support and glad to have Adam join the show to talk about it.
Next up, Greg Wyshynski, the Sabres, the NHL playoffs, maybe even a Top Chef question or two. He's got a Top Chef pod, Mise en Pod. It's brilliant. Always a pleasure to talk to Greg. That'll be after sports. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The bullpen. Welcome.
Actually hosting a full show and saying hello to the bullpen now. So hi, bullpen.
Yes, Sal. Welcome to the bullpen.
I love that you guys nicknamed it the bullpen. We got a lot of people. I do watch the show on YouTube.
Yeah,
and I watch the afternoon show on YouTube.
Me too.
It's so great to watch.
The afternoon show on YouTube.
And sometimes I'll just keep the audio on. Because you can do that in the background. But I love watching it. I see a lot of you in the bullpen. Thank you very much. We got the sports man who comes in all the time. AC Man 319 who's there.
He's a regular.
Coach Chris Curtis. I know it says Coach Drunk Chris Curtis. I hope you're not a drunk coach. That's all I want to tell you. DJ is in there, Kevin. So thank you. And I do see you, and you guys say hello, and I'm trying to do the job, but I appreciate it. But today's the first day. So if you have never gone to the YouTube stream, check us out at WGR 550 on YouTube. And I've been saying this for a while, Joe. Canadian listeners, this is finally a way for them to watch or listen to the show.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't do it on the app, which has been shut down in Canada for years.
Yeah.
And now we finally get our Canadian listeners back. They can watch and listen through YouTube.
Yeah, super cool. So yeah, be sure to check it out. We'll check in on the chat in a little bit. They were talking.
They would, according to this, like to be referred to as Bulldog's bullpen, which is the people in the chat.
What is? Oh, I see.
In YouTube, it was the.
I'm not sure we're sanctioning that name yet. But
okay. That was an official workshop.
I guess
I did just workshop.
I mean, it's their thing. I guess they can really do whatever they want.
Right. You don't necessarily get to sign
I don't
off.
get to say. Yeah, that's probably right.
But
I will step aside. I didn't mean for my ego to get in the way. Go ahead, please.
Season for the Buffalo Bills will begin tomorrow. Rookie minicamp will get underway and run through Saturday. Coverage of Bills rookie minicamp right here on WGR is presented by Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. Panthers made a number of moves today. They have released edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney after just 1 year and have placed running back Jonathan Brooks on the physically unable to perform list. That will end Brooks' 2025 season. He did suffer an ACL tear in Week 14 of this past season, his second ACL tear in as many years. The Anaheim Ducks have officially hired Joel Quenneville as the team's next head coach. Quenneville has been out of the NHL since 2021 following the fallout of the investigation of the Chicago Blackhawks. The investigation showed the Blackhawk organization failed to properly address allegations by player Kyle Beach that he was sexually assaulted by video coach Brad Aldrich during the team's 2010 Stanley Cup run. Quenneville was the head coach during that run, and the NHL determined that he, along with then GM Stan Bowman and then executive Al MacIsaac, were ineligible to work for other NHL teams. That ban was lifted in July of 2024, and since Bowman has been hired by the Oilers as their general manager. 2 games tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 7 p.m. Washington hosts Carolina. Then at 9:30, Vegas is at home versus the Oilers. Edmonton and Carolina lead those series 1-0. 1 game in the NBA. Minnesota hosts Golden State at 8:30. Steph Curry out tonight due to a hamstring strain. He is also expected to miss Game 3 on Saturday. And then the Bisons, they take on the Saints in Minnesota just after 7:30. And that game's going to be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
They have this Panther sound effect that is just the cheesiest, stupidest sounding thing. Big voice guy going, Panther goal scored by Sam Reinhart.
Where'd you get that thing? I trapped it. Been keeping it in my bathroom at the motel, feeding it old pizza.
It's Mike Schopp.
If you're calm, that wondrous big cat will be calm too. But if you're scared, that beautiful death machine will do what God made it to do. Namely, eat you with a smile on its face.
And the Bulldog. On WGR Sports Radio 550.
We'll see if the Florida crowd is at all subdued as that series arrives. Not tonight. They played in Toronto last night. But
yeah, see, I think it's the only game tomorrow night.
Leafs up 2-0 on the Panthers. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, joined now on the Western Hotline by ESPN's Greg Wyshynski. We've enjoyed Greg's visits many times over the years. Especially, I'm grateful when it's during the playoffs like this. ESPN has the doubleheader tonight. And Greg, let me say first, really, Bulldog should be the one to say it. He enjoyed your work on the broadcast last night.
on ESPN Bet Live, you mean?
On the
intermission? The intermission show, the parade.
Oh no, dude, that's my buddy Ardo. We look the same. We both look.
Dude,
like
are you kidding me?
The incarnating president. Yeah, no.
Oh my God!
You could always tell because he's the one putting over Toronto, and I could care less about Canada.
That's right.
That makes sense. A lot of. I feel like such a donkey now. I went to your Twitter feed and looked and saw the picture that you had posted. And I'm like, oh yeah, of course that's you.
Do you guys think they'd let me within 20 feet of the adult table?
Well, that's why I was so impressed. I'm like, yes. Oh, we're talking to Greg. I was watching with my son. He thought it was you too. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Greg Wyshynski. We're talking to him tomorrow. Cool. Man, I feel like such a jerk. I'm sorry.
Sorry, everyone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Greg, nice talking to you.
Why does Greg care if there's a parade in Toronto?
I know, right? I thought you were just trolling Canada, and I could get behind that.
It's a good bit.
Yeah. It is a good bit. I mean, I've been doing the bit on social media myself, but actually I don't think it's a bit. I mean, like I seriously think we're in trouble here, folks, and there's a chance the Leafs could win the Cup this year. Like, it's not great for those of us who have enjoyed the schadenfreude of no Cup since 1967. I mean, like, they're talented. They've yet to have a moment in these playoffs where their psyche has been broken, which is usually when they're eliminated. And they might have the guy behind the bench in Craig Berube who's, has some proof of concept vis-a-vis keeping his team focused and shutting out the outside noise with what he did in St. Louis. So I'm a little concerned. Like, if they can get past Florida, I think they beat whoever comes out of the Metro. And then, we'll see what happens with the Western Conference with Dallas and Edmonton. But, like, it's a little disconcerting right now that this could be the Leafs year.
Yeah, they have really changed. It's been a storyline if people have been following them. I'm sure some people in our audience have been all season long. Like style-wise, how they play. It even came up watching, I think, one of the games in the Ottawa series that Butchergrass and Weeks were doing. John was saying, like, yeah, there's just not a lot of offense from Toronto tonight. And I'm thinking to myself, this is how they've been mostly all year. Like, they've got the star power, so you know they can still do it, like just on a dime, bang, just boat race you. But mostly they've been playing. I think they've been learning how to play all year, and now it's coming home to roost for them.
Yeah, they're fundamentally sound defensively. They've got good goaltending finally this year with Stolarz when he's healthy, and with Wall, who was pretty good last night, or as good as he needed to be. But, you also have some guys that, for all the criticism that the core four has gotten for not performing in the playoffs, I think Nylander's been insane. Maybe the second most valuable player in the playoffs behind Mikko Rantanen at this point. And Marner's gotten his points. Still waiting on Austin Matthews to announce his attendance in the proceedings, but that's fine. But they're good, and they're also tough. I mean, there's a certain toughness to this team to withstand what Ottawa was throwing at them, to withstand what Florida can throw at them. Obviously, Florida's already cost them their goaltender with what Sam Bennett did in Game 1. They're tough. They can push back, and also they're not dumb. They didn't do dumb things last night in trying to exact revenge for what the Panthers did in Game 1, which is usually what happens when you play the Panthers, but the Leafs didn't take the bait.
Yeah, very different. Yeah, Ekman Larson and McCabe on the back, and Tanev too. I was worried when they signed him that he would, be on one leg by the time the playoffs got here, but they managed to get through that season, and he's still there. The guy that really, to me, is a piece that these Leafs have never had through this window is Nyes. To me, like, he is just such a different sort of player than any of the core group, and I feel like just adds an element there. Like, he's going to be a problem, I think, for years if you're interested in the Atlantic Division like we are in Buffalo.
For sure, and the other part about him too is he's young, so he doesn't carry the burden of a dozen seasons of playoff disappointments and get the blame for it and have the media on him all the time asking him why he can't win. I mean, He's also like new to the proceedings still in some ways. So they're quite good. I hesitate to put them over Florida because this Florida team could easily just put on the afterburners and take the series. But they've, in order to do that, you're going to have to plant the seed of doubt in the minds of the Maple Leafs that this isn't the year. And like I said, no one's been able to do that yet. Even in the slightest, even Ottawa couldn't do it despite pushing them to Game 6 in the first round.
With Greg Wyshynski, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. So would, for you, or maybe even know a number, would the odds of a Canadian Cup be better than 50-50?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I had Dallas coming out of the West and winning the Cup, and as long as Mikko Rantanen is continuing to tally hat tricks every game, I feel pretty confident about that. But there's definitely, I mean, like if I had to stake my life on it, right? I would say the Cup Finals, Edmonton and Toronto, in which case we don't have any escape. We're going to have the first Canadian Stanley Cup since 1993. But, I mean, like, it kind of feels like it might be headed there, and then you get Matthews versus McDavid. You get the Leafs versus the Oilers. You have the Oilers trying to win the Cup that they lost in Game 7 last year and trying to – and we'll probably have all of Canada outside of Ontario behind them in trying to prevent the Leafs from winning. Like, it's a really, really compelling final, and it kind of feels like it might be heading there. The Oilers are playing really well, too. Like, I was super impressed with them defensively the last few games. Their depth is good. I still really like Dallas, especially if they can get Heiskanen back at some point. But, I mean, it kind of, you can just take a deep breath. Go outside, smell it in the air, boys. It's Toronto, Edmonton.
Yeah. Heiskanen, do you have a guess there? I mean, it just feels like once he started taking morning skates, I thought, it's got to be happening soon. And we got through the whole first round, and now we're a game into round 2, and still no change. Is there any news on that front?
No, I mean, he's still working his way back. I mean, maybe with some of the, with the win in Game 1, they probably maybe can give him a little bit more time to work back. But I'm honestly shocked based on everything that we had heard and everything that they had been saying towards the end of the Colorado series that Robertson made it back before Heiskanen did. But listen, they gutted out the Colorado series, which is extremely impressive when you consider what the Avalanche had on their roster and who was missing for Dallas. And then they go and do what they did in Game 1 of the Winnipeg series, and so they can afford to be patient right now with their injured guys.
Checking the odds before, 2 days ago, I guess the second round had started, but barely. I saw Dallas as the favorite by a little bit over Carolina. And Washington was the longest shot on the board at plus 1,000 to win it. And I wasn't expecting that, Greg. I mean, I saw Game 1, and maybe that now I get it. But as someone who questioned Washington all year, like I was doing, they get the 5-game win in the first round. I did not expect the betting markets to show that Washington was like the biggest long shot, not by a tremendous amount. Thoughts on that matchup?
Well, I'm in DC now, hence the sirens, and I'm going to the game tonight. And I'm really intrigued to see what their counterpunch is going to be, because that Game 1 loss was the kind of loss that happens and has you questioning whether you can win a series. Now, their coach actually had to come out and say today before the game, we believe we can win the series and play our best hockey against Carolina. The simple fact that it needs to be addressed it tells you what a humbling defeat it was in Game 1, where the Caps couldn't get anything going. That being said, it's still the Hurricanes, which meant that it was a 1-goal game in overtime. You know, even when they're that dominant, even when they're that good, this is a team that constantly plays to the margins in the postseason and is in constant dire straits because they're winning games by 1 goal and hoping that someone can find that goal. That's why they traded for Rantanen earlier this year. That's why they traded for Gensel last year. They're perpetually the team that has to hope somebody scores in a perfect situation to get them over the hump. So, again, it's not the most encouraging Game 1 for Washington. The people that were heavy on Carolina are probably feeling pretty good about life right now. But at the end of the day, it was a one-bounce game.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, that is it. It would be fitting if Carolina were to go on some kind of a run here, because this was the year I finally decided I'm done backing them in any way, shape, or form. Because it just every year, it's just like they look like one of the best teams in the league, and then it's like, I don't know, Boston has their number for some reason or whatever it is. They just can't seem to get there. Do you think there's any fatigue there with front office, coach, anything? Like if the wheels were to come off of this thing, I mean, I imagine if they win a second round series that everyone is safe, but it feels to me like they've been, this team for 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Tulsky is their new GM. He took over for Don Waddell, so there's a little bit of new blood there. I mean, he was the assistant to Waddell, who's now in Columbus. But I mean, he's going to be given some time to kind of put his stamp on the roster. They took a big swing with Rantanen, and the fact that he, didn't sign and they had to trade him again to Dallas, there might be some virtue in what they got back in Logan Stankoven, who's a good young player, but it still is kind of embarrassing to take that kind of swing and then not have the guy in the playoffs. And Brind'Amour, listen, he gets them to the playoffs every year. I don't think there's a lot of consternation about his role right now and his job right now. I think when he leaves, it'll be him deciding when to leave. But, maybe it's the new pope that has me feeling a little bit religious today.
Let's go.
There are hockey gods. We know that. I mean, Buffalo fans know that more than anybody, that there's hockey gods.
Yeah.
And maybe the hockey gods decree a Toronto Edmonton final, or maybe they decree a Mikko Rantanen revenge tour of beating Colorado in the first round and then facing the Carolina Hurricanes in the Stanley Cup final. I mean, that could easily be what the hockey gods decree as well.
I only felt compelled to ask the question about Brind'Amour's future because the Sabres just hired Eric Stahl as a special assistant to the GM. And, just we get see how many 06 Hurricanes we can fit under one tent.
Beautiful.
It's wild to me. Like, you guys are collecting them like Pokemon. Is Joe Corvo walking through that door anytime soon? Like, my God. But again, it's also like hockey nepotism, right? I mean, why is Eric Stahl there? Eric Stahl is there because he played with Kevin Adams. You guys mentioned on the update, why is Joel Quenneville in Anaheim? Because he was a teammate in Hartford and New Jersey with Pat Verbeek, their GM. It's always like this familial relationship, incestuous thing in the NHL. So I'm not surprised that Kevin is surrounding himself with some former teammates up there.
Saying that, the Sabres in this interminable playoff drought have gone, if you will, outside the box not always in a good way, but, first-time GMs and coaches, not first-time coaches in Kruger's case, but still a little bit of a different hire, and then Granato, too. What's left to say, Greg? 14 years. No one of these names that we see bounce around running franchises all the time. The guys, the Waddells that get the next job the day after just because, I don't know, there's some credibility there or something. The Sabres seem to they can't be bothered to make a move like that up top.
Botterill's got to be one of the few guys. I guess Bilesma too. That got rehired after not working out in Buffalo. A lot of these guys haven't gotten another job.
And it took many years for both guys to get top jobs again.
It did. I don't know. I've in thinking about the Sabres, I think it's pretty clear that they might be at the point where they need to start packaging some of these younger guys that they've been waiting on together to go and get guys that are maybe in their mid-20s that are a little bit closer to their prime. I know Elias Pettersson's name has come up a bunch with the Canucks looking to maybe move him, but who knows? You'd be buying extremely low on him, and he's not the same player that he was a couple of years ago. But that's one path that they could take, and then it ultimately comes down to whether or not you have the faith that their front office is the right one to make those kinds of moves. Because once you do start packaging young guys and sending young players out the door, as every Sabres fan knows, it could come back to haunt you in a pretty severe way. So that's the trick, and they're in a pickle right now.
No kidding. It can come back to haunt us. It's not even believable the way we watched the Sabres trade players who went and won the Conn Smythe or won cups immediately for just over and over. It's happened. Josh Norris is hopefully not the next example of a trade gone wrong, but he only played 2 games here. He was injured.
3 maybe, yeah.
Maybe 3. Yeah. Would Norris from Ottawa not have been available? Would he have been available if not for the injury history?
Potentially. Cousins is younger. I think he's got a bit of a different skill set. He's controllable contract-wise, too. So there were still, reasons to make that deal outside of the frustration with him being unable to stay healthy. But, obviously, the fact that they're looking for a bit more stability and they're looking for a guy to stay in the lineup certainly factored into their decision. I like him as a player. I'm kind of bummed that he can't stay healthy because I do think that he's actually a pretty solid offensive player and a good hand to have in the middle. But again, the concern was health. And then he played, like you said, 2 games. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point.
Yeah, it sure is. So how about the overall here, Greg? It's been a pretty incredible year for the league with the success of the Four Nations face-off. I feel like these playoffs with the Game 7s we just had over the weekend that were just, great theater. I feel like the league is maybe riding as high as it ever has been. I wonder how much they would be fearing an all-Canadian Stanley Cup final like you were talking about a few minutes ago.
So, there's good and bad, right? Four Nations was a massive success to the point where now they're rethinking their international calendar and what they're going to do with the All-Star game. And I think that's probably right, even though I do think that the conditions were very specific to this year geopolitically as to why that thing popped off the way it did. They've got a collection of young stars. Scoring has been over 6 goals per game for the last few seasons. Power plays clicked in a way they hadn't clicked since the middle of the 1980s. There's a lot of things that are going right, and I think next year's Olympic tournament's going to be even, a bigger boom because I think the Americans have a legit shot at winning gold. But the Canadian thing, the Canadian part of your question is an interesting one because while those games will be awesome and the atmospheres will be awesome, and I do think a lot of American fans really enjoyed watching the atmosphere in Edmonton and really enjoy watching the atmosphere in Winnipeg, for example, and kind of get that almost like college football vibe from how much the community cares about these things.
Yes.
It is tough for this league to really thrive without the Rangers, without the Bruins, without the Penguins, without the Flyers, without the Blackhawks, without the Red Wings, without all of the teams that kind of 2x the audience when they're contending. And so that's kind of the downside right now is that we have a lot of really good teams and a lot of really good players and some amazing hockey, and they're not necessarily the franchises that the casual fan wants to watch.
Interesting. I'm very much with this group. I get bored by those other teams, the New York, Philadelphia stuff. I'm glad to not have it. I'm a Hockey Night in Canada kid, though. I look forward to those ratings lists when they come out, the top 10 cities for viewership, because Buffalo's always on it, and so is Providence. And West Palm? There's one city in Florida that's always on the top 10.
It's West Palm. It's all the snowbirds and New Yorkers that migrated down there so they could buy McMansions. But yeah, I mean that's one of the real tragedies of the way that Sabres have gone for the last over a decade. Is when that team is competitive and when it pops, we know what the audience is going to be. Not only locally, but all the same people that flood bars on Sundays to watch the Bills in cities across the country are all of a sudden going to be repping the Sabres if that team ever becomes relevant again. And it's something the league has certainly missed.
Well said. I like the college football comp too. That works. Thinking about the people outside the Leafs arena and so on.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So you mentioned you're in Washington. Where can we find you on the streaming / or just like social media? Because I don't want to make any mistakes here.
I'll be sucking down Guinnesses at the Irish Channel after the game. Oh, you mean like online?
Yeah, like during the game. Sorry.
You can read my stuff at ESPN.com as per usual, and pithy comments at Wyshynski on Twitter. I should also mention my friend Jeff Merrick. And I are doing our podcast again every Tuesday on dailyfaceoff.com, the Merrick versus Wyshynski podcast every Tuesday.
It's back.
It's on YouTube, so you can watch two subtly aging hockey pundits, one of whom combs his hair, me. The other one, I don't know what's going on. But we do our show every Tuesday now, and it's great.
What is the status of Mise en Pod?
Oh, my God, it's still thriving. Me and my wife, Ruby, do Mise en Pod. It's a food TV podcast. On the Puck Soup Patreon, if you're interested in food TV or more specifically in Top Chef, because we do the podcast every week during Top Chef. We just did the top 5 and 5 worst Restaurant Wars pop-up names of all time, a bonus episode. Big fan of Kentucky's Third Coast. I mean, think about it. We've got 2 coasts. The Low Country, where you get crawdaddies, that's the Third Coast. So yeah, that's the podcast I like to do the most, because it's just me and my wife sitting across the kitchen table having a beer, talking about Top Chef.
I like it this year. Toronto, speaking of Toronto, it's the first time I think they ever went to a restaurant I've been to when they went to Ravine Vineyards, Niagara on the Lake. It's like 15 minutes from home.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was gorgeous there, too. What's really funny is they labeled the season Destination Canada, and they've yet to leave Toronto in about 8 episodes so far. So it's actually quite appropriate when you talk to people around Canada that get pissed off about how Toronto considers itself to be the center of the universe. The fact that Top Chef is doing Destination Canada but hasn't left a 3-block radius of Toronto, I think is appropriate.
I would look forward to hearing you on one of these podcasts talk about your favorite or least favorite contestants. I've decided Kristen Kish, who is now the host of the show, is, I think, my favorite all-time contestant on the show, too. I don't think the show really misses Padma. I thought she was great, but I love the current host.
She was awesome. I'm a big fan of Buddha, who was on last season, because he was like a fan of the show that studied how to win, like scientifically, and bought like 200 different molds for like making gelatin and stuff. And anyone who's a big fan of the show and also has broken the thing down into what Jeopardy contestants do to try to rig the board and everything. Like to have that down on Top Chef is really impressive.
Right. Well, we're going to have to, at some point you get up this way, Maddie Matheson's place in Ridgeway, Ontario, which is just about a 20-minute jaunt over the Peace Bridge, Rizzo's House of Parm, has been getting a lot of love. And, it's a tough table, but I think we got to try to make something happen for you.
Oh, all right. Well, now you've got my attention. Any favors to be called in by media moguls in the Buffalo area, I have to pay attention.
Let's please not start 9-14-1 next year, please.
Right, so you have a reason to come here at some point.
Let's get it off the ground.
Right.
Greg, enjoy your night in Washington. Thanks as always.
Anytime, thanks.
Greg Wyshynski on the Wester Hotline. The first game tonight is Carolina at Washington. All right. 803-0550 to join us. We did some Bill stuff with the schedule, took a call on Keon Coleman. We're post-draft here now. And
And I
schedule's next week.
And I misidentified our guest on television last night.
Well, he was a great sport about it. He didn't seem to mind.
I'm tempted to retweet the picture that is on his Twitter feed to like put it to it. Like, do you think this is Greg Wyshynski? Because I feel like such a dope.
You're thinking maybe it still was.
No,
No, now you believe him.
No, I definitely believe him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you should.
It really, at least he admitted that the guy does look similar enough to him.
Yep.
So.
We'll be back after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Folks, Bulldog here for Window Nation. Just about a year ago, we finally hit that point in our house. We'd had enough. It was time for new windows in our attic. It's a studio I use when I work from home and also a big music room. We're up there a lot, and the windows were just absolutely shot. So my wife and I met with Window Nation, and we could not be happier with the result. The difference is real. Quieter, cooler, just better all around. Aesthetically, it just looks fantastic. Easy to open and close the windows now. Before it was, propping them open with old pieces of 2x4 and junk like that. Anyway, you want to keep the AC this spring and summer in your house where it belongs, call Window Nation. Their energy-efficient vinyl windows seal in comfort and help you save on energy. There's semi-annual sales happening now, 60% off windows, plus a free entry door when you buy a whole house full of windows. And the best part, there's no money down, no interest, and no payments until 2027. We trusted Window Nation because they work directly with the best manufacturers. Their windows are made right here in the USA, and they back them with a lifetime warranty. So if you're thinking about new windows, don't wait. Call 866-90-NATION or head to windownation.com to schedule your free estimate. That's windownation.com, 60% off, a free entry door, and nothing to pay until 2027. What are you waiting for?
Rookie minicamp starts tomorrow for the Buffalo Bills as the offseason continues to roll along. It's going to run through Saturday, and coverage of Bills rookie minicamp on WGR is presented by Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. 2 games tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 7 p.m., Washington hosts Carolina. Then at 9:30, Vegas is at home. They take on the Oilers. Edmonton and Carolina lead both those series 1-0. We have just one game in the NBA tonight. It's Minnesota hosting Golden State at 8:30. Steph Curry out tonight due to a hamstring strain. He is also expected to miss Game 3 on Saturday. Golden State, though, did take Game 1. And then the Bisons, they take on the Saints in Minnesota just after 7:30. That game is going to be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I think you do have to start at the top, and Keon Coleman, probably looking at him to be a 75-ish target guy for this offense. And, hopefully he can be the player they drafted to be, the X-receiver, leverage battle winner, be good in those contested situations, bring more physicality to the table, be healthy, be the player you were prior to the injury. I think it's that simple. Be that guy for the whole year.
Keon Coleman, Joe Marino talking about him on WGR earlier. Coleman turns 22 next Saturday. Make sure the Bills know this, because several of the Bills people have mentioned how Coleman is only 21. They'll want to know that he's turning 22.
They're going to need to update that
next weekend.
Yeah.
29 catches in his rookie year. What's good this year? Is 50 good? Is that even low? What's good?
I feel like 65 is my number.
That's your over/under, or that's what you would take?
I would take 65
in a second.
65, 6 touchdowns.
He did. We were talking about Davis earlier, Gabe Davis. Coleman did go for 19 yards per catch last year. So you got value out of the 29.
Yep.
4 touchdowns. I'm thinking compared to what was Shakir, 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Kincaid was 2.
4, yeah, I don't know that Shakir was 2.
Shakir might have been higher,
but I know 5. 5 is the team high. Collins had it, and nobody was tied with him. So that is, that's the number. Shakir had 4. Yeah, Coleman had 4. So they tied.
Okay.
Collins had 5.
Okay. They're being reviewed though. These plays are still under review.
They're still under review.
Yeah, they're taking their time with it. Sky Ref is looking at it again.
They got to put a time limit on those.
They should.
They really.
It's May.
Yeah. I think the Super Bowl happened.
I watched some of it.
Yeah, that's
not all.
That's tough. Yeah, I think a lot of attention on Coleman there, and rightly so. I mean, I think even without being stepping out like he did last week, there would be a lot of focus on Coleman anyway. I guess, depending on what else they had done at the position, but what they have done is left the runway pretty clear for him to step into a role here going into his second year. And I think there's always going to be pressure on a guy that's drafted highly. I mean, whatever. He's not a first-round pick, but still, they're counting on him. The GM is definitely counting on him, and now he's got to go do it. And Kincaid, same goes for him. We talked about that in this context a little bit yesterday, so I won't repeat myself, but a lot of the same stuff goes for Coleman. You're just going to have to figure out a way to be available, first of all, like stay on the field and just get whatever needs to get together with the quarterback and make it work. Not that was much of a problem, I think, already with Coleman and Allen. Kincaid and Allen have had this weird thing where he's open and getting open, and the target throws are just off target way too often when Kincaid is involved. So we'll see what Coleman can turn into heading into year 2. But I'm relatively still. I was really encouraged by what we saw from him in the first part of the season. And I can see a player emerging in there. It just, it's hard not to be distracted by how it ended. He just didn't really do much after he came back from the injury. And that is a part of being a pro, is you're going to have to learn how to get over that stuff quickly and be there and be available, especially if the team is counting on you.
In the playoffs, 1 catch per game, Coleman. This is well after the injury, but 1 for 5, 1 for 5, 1 for 12 in those games. The Bills did get their points. There's a schedule leak.
What?
I know. From somebody. I'll take the bait. If it's the schedule, I'll believe anything. I'll mention you. NFL Nerd.
Okay.
Tweets. I mean, would NFL Nerd lie? Could be wrong. But would he lie?
Absolutely.
You see that in NFL Nerd? You see dishonesty in NFL Nerd?
I'm familiar with NFL Nerd, but I feel like I'm familiar with accounts that might be similar, and yeah, I feel like they would lie.
You're not ruling it out.
I think largely they're there to lie.
You're not taking this. Oh well,
that's
the point.
That's their function.
Lying is the point.
Let me see if I can get Adam Schefter to retweet this.
Adam Schlurfter just retweeted it. Right. You're not taking their leak as gospel, keeping it religious today.
Smart.
As gospel. There's a controversy about the Pope already.
Well, of course there is.
Yeah, there will be, right? That's unavoidable. There's a controversy about the new Pope.
Why wouldn't there be?
Before I'll give you this important schedule leak, it does not involve the Bills. That, like Wrigley Field, he's from Chicago, and Wrigley Field, on their iconic red outer scoreboard and message board, he's a Cubs fan. He's not.
No, right. I did see
his brother
clarification on that. Yes,
his brother had a press conference today and said he was always a White Sox fan.
You got to get that stuff right, Cubs.
I'm excited about a Pope where I won't need a translator. That's a first.
It's first American Pope.
First American Pope. NFL Nerd. Maybe you hadn't heard, by the way, about the Pope.
Yeah,
just now
we're
from
just
us.
trying to cover all the bases here.
If you're so into sports,
Leo.
only listen to GR.
Leo the 14th.
Pope Leo the 14th. NFL Nerd tweets, I've said it 7 times now, the Jaguars London game, there's only one this year. There's 3 London games, I believe, but only one involving Jacksonville, will be against the Rams. There it is. You're waiting with bated breath.
That feels about as uneventful a schedule leak as there could possibly be. To me right now.
That might be fair.
Especially considering that, well, I shouldn't be so hard on it because I believe that this will be the first time the Rams and Jaguars have ever played.
Oh, yeah.
So there is that.
That might be the best example ever of one of those. I mean, I am racking my brain, it's the cliche segment, trying to think of a Rams-Jaguars play. James Robinson busted a run. I think that was at the Chargers. No, I don't have it yet.
Yeah.
Rams, Jaguars.
You're our only hope because there's no chance I'm going to have anything on these two teams playing. Because because they have never played. So I don't know why I would have it.
I'm going to look. I can't think of one. I think there's a fair chance I've never watched a game between them.
Oh, that's definitely the case for me.
That will change this year.
And it's not to explain not being able to remember it because I forget plenty of things that I watch even just moments ago. But yeah, I can't.
They have played 6 times.
I cannot fathom sitting with Jacksonville and the Rams.
They've played 6 times, and 4 were the St. Louis Rams. So the Los Angeles Rams and Jacksonville Jaguars have only met twice.
I'm not that far off.
No, I mean, don't beat yourself up over this one. Don't beat yourself up over this one. The last time they played, 2021, the Rams beat the Jags 37-7. That's Urban Meyer's team. Nope, I've got nothing there. Maybe that was it for him. I don't know. 37-7. Rams Jaguars history. This is bad. And then 2017 at Jacksonville, the Rams won 27-17 in 2017. That was smart. Nothing. But I don't know. I'm not upset. I put a lawnmower together, so I'm not easily deterred, daunted. I feel good today.
I love when the game from London is a game that I absolutely will have almost no reason to ever care about. I like watching it. Like, it's a good excuse for me to go get on the bicycle on a Sunday, which I usually don't. But, there's a football game on. That's an easy watch. I'll just get on the bike and do that rather than watching, whatever, the Wire replays or something. But, Rams, Jaguars, that'll be a very easy rollover and stay in bed.
Oh, come on. You can count on me to watch it.
Of course.
I watch them all.
Let's hear more about this.
Unless I'm mowing the lawn.
I want to hear more about this lawnmower. Sorry, I didn't mean to run away from the lawnmower.
No, here is the thing. I am the worst. I'm the worst person in the world you'd ever want to have help you do a job, like any kind of job.
Involving tools.
And knowing things and fixing things. No. But this riding mower, we made the transition this year from lawn service to, I've got teenagers. My daughter's really into the idea of riding on one of these. That'll take a minute, but let's go.
Right.
So made the investment there. And they bring it in a crate, and there's a lot to do before you can just go. Install the seat, the steering wheel, connect the battery, and other things. The side grate, where it pushes out the grass.
The chute.
The chute.
Yeah.
Like, there were lots of parts to this, and I needed 2 mornings to just go one by one, getting through each one. And they, took me a while having to find the tools and everything. But I got close so that today I was going to wake up and finish it and do it. But
fire it up, you mean?
Fire it up. But the video, I've been using the video for the last 2 days that's on the screen where I bought it. I bought it online from a big store, and there's one of the pictures is of a 3.5-minute video of a guy doing this, putting it together so you can start it. 14 steps, and I was on 11. And I think, after that, it's kind of just turn the key, right? So I had one more step. I wake up. I go to the page. The video had been removed.
Oh, that's a blow.
And I have no idea, is this an amazing coincidence, or where did the video go? I go to the live chat. Those are hopelessly useless. I go to the live chat, and what's your question? Where did the video go explaining how to assemble this lawnmower? I don't understand your question. Click one of these 4 boxes. Nothing even remotely close to what I needed. Right. Delete, bye. So then I'm just on YouTube for like an hour, and it just happened that every video that was what I needed, this one step, that side thing, they didn't show you how to install that. And eventually I'm like, I think I can figure this out.
Yes, okay, good.
But I'd hate to be wrong and have it not work. And
yeah.
I do remember the first video, it said, never ride it without the chute on. So I knew it was important. And eventually just got out there and fooled around with it. My wife helped, and we did it. But where did that go? Where did that video, where was that guy today?
That is tough when you're really counting on it, when you needed it most. I don't know about most, but to finish.
Every other picture seemed to be there.
Yeah.
The thing's still for sale in the store. There's the picture. There's the 360. There's the awards it won. There's all the extra parts you can buy. No, where's the guy? I need the guy.
360 is great.
Right?
Like you're buying a motorcycle.
You click on it and just drag the mouse around, and you can see it from all angles.
That's amazing. So what is the moment like when you get on it and decide to turn the key, knowing that you were responsible for some of the assembly of this, rather large machine?
Yes. It was wonderful. I was worried. The one part I think I had the best chance of messing up was the battery part, because that video, the battery was different than what I had. Like, every model isn't the same. So
yeah,
it was confusing to me how to figure that out, and I was only partly sure that I'd done it. I mean, I did connect, but I wasn't sure that I'd done it successfully. So I thought maybe it would not start, and if that happened, I was going to call somebody. Like, I don't know. But it did. And then I took off.
Nice.
And cut like half my yard, so it looks ridiculous right now, but I didn't have time to finish the job.
Right.
There, bam, did it. Rams at Jaguars in London, Week 7.
I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
I said this earlier. Like, the idea of assembling. When we bought the riding lawnmower that we used to have at the house that my in-laws owned in Canada, one year, I think for Father's Day, I bought my father. We bought. I was the one who physically went and purchased the item, but like we bought a riding lawnmower. And I rented a trailer or something we had to get it to Canada. So I didn't know about delivery, and I didn't shop in Canada. Probably should have done that. But anyway, rented a U-Haul trailer and picked up a fully assembled, lawn tractor and just, towed it over there, and that was where it lived. The idea of having to do assembly on that thing was pretty daunting.
Well, just all those things to me, as someone with no confidence in that area, all just are frustratingly the same in how they tell you how easy it is. This is 4 easy steps. And the guy kind of sounds like this. And he says, hey, well, you can be running in 4 easy steps. And I'm like, that's offensive. Say 4 steps. I'll decide how easy it is. Right. You don't know who you're talking to.
Right.
803-0550, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Welcome back. Tomorrow, Josh Byrne of the Bandits will be with us at the plan is 5:30. If you want to hear from Josh Byrne, the first game of the finals is next Friday. The Bandits don't know their opponent yet in the finals. It will be either Halifax or Saskatchewan. Throw out the record book. Saskatchewan leads that series best of 3, 1-0, and they play Saturday. They probably play Sunday too if it's 1-1. I don't know. Another long flight. Right? Buffalo, Vancouver, they had to fly all the way out there.
Yeah.
Halifax and
right.
Saskatchewan.
Holy cow, yeah, that is a haul.
Maybe about the same. Maybe a little shorter. I don't know. Here's James next. Hi, James.
Hey, guys. I had a meeting earlier. I was catching up on the Odyssey apps. So I was at the 4 o'clock point where you started talking about mayonnaise on turkey.
Yes.
And it's 100% true. It does have a lower smoke point. I haven't cooked a turkey with mayonnaise on it. But if you want to try it, go with a grilled cheese sandwich. May sound gross.
Yep.
Try it out. Will not burn. And also, I called into Sal's show this morning about the schedule. I kind of derailed it a little bit for him because I really want to see the Bills play the Dolphins in Madrid. I will book that trip and go if that's a thing.
Ooh.
He said it's possible, not likely.
Okay. Thanks, James. Yep. Schedule releases Wednesday. We'll talk about it some more. There's still, I think, the possibility of the Bills going to Dublin.
Right.
But maybe Madrid is also possible.
I've heard more about the possibility of the Steelers in Ireland. I feel like there's some reason why the Madrid thing was kind of ruled out. You know, just sentiment. It's not like for sure, but I feel like it was not very likely. But I don't know what that was exactly. But sure, go to Madrid for a football game. I mean, I highly recommend Spain. Just don't speed.
You can speed. No, I was going to say you can speed and get away with it.
You can speed and get away with it. Yeah, just they'll send you a ticket in the mail and just ignore it. Nothing will ever happen, he said, only 8 months after having been to Spain.
It is 8 months, though.
9, whatever. It's been a while.
It's been long enough.
Yeah.
If they're serious now, what kind of process is that? I think you're safe. And I think you do too.
Still haven't thrown away the notice, though. I saved. I got it. I got 2 of them.
They call you. They check on it, and how come you haven't paid this fine yet? Oh, what do you mean? I have it right here. I was just about to do it.
Right.
Sir, you were notified 9 months ago. Yeah, I know. I'm just getting around to it right now.
Yeah.
Funny you called today. I was just doing it.
Yeah, I'm busy.
I was just writing the check as you called from Spain.
Busy guy.
If the Bills end up with a game in Europe, 9 games in their stadium, 7 in their opponent's stadium. 7 real road games that way, and then 1 neutral. Back after the break and the update. Lines are open for you, 803-0550. We'll talk about the schedule some more when we return. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Mike Schopp.
Hey, put a little. I never get this line out the first time. It's not even good. Hey, put a little bit more in there, cowboy.
And the Bulldog.
What's your degree in?
Kicking ass and taking names.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Yes, welcome back. It's been a fun day. Trista was on. Adam Drought, we met him to talk about the ride for Roswell. Greg Wyshynski. Callers vouching for mayonnaise on turkey. And I don't mean on a cold sandwich, but when you put it in the oven.
Basting the turkey with mayonnaise.
3 people were inspired to call in and say, yes, absolutely. It's good.
Well, I'm not counting this last guy because he didn't exactly vouch for the process of using the mayo on the turkey. He just said grilled cheese sandwich, it won't burn, it's really good. And I've seen that in my house. The turkey thing's a new, unless I might have misunderstood the guy, but I feel like he was just like, I get it, mayo can serve that purpose. Basically, grilled cheese is an example. But yeah, I don't know. I believe people.
I don't see myself attempting this, actually, though. I've never cooked a turkey.
I never have either, and provided my wife doesn't leave anytime soon, I'm thinking I may get away with not ever having to cook a whole turkey.
I kind of want to, but somebody else in my family always has that. They appoint themselves. Like my father-in-law is the self-appointed
turkey king.
Cooker.
Yeah.
And, that goes well enough.
Right.
We host, he brings it over.
All right.
That's what happens there. You would think the host maybe would be the
or
proprietor.
Like if you want to be the one in charge of cooking it, then I need to get in your kitchen at 10 a.m. or something, whatever, like whatever time. Make room for me. I'm coming in. But transporting the turkey, that's
turkey transporter.
Yeah, that seems like it could be cumbersome.
Seems like it goes well mostly.
Although usually I think like a hunk of meat that big. Once it comes out of the oven, it needs to sit. So the sitting can be, even though it's moving, it's not
the 15-minute drive.
Yeah, the 15-minute drive. That's perfect.
So you didn't like my comment earlier that I like the idea of the Giants and the Raiders playing on Monday night in Week 1.
No.
I think that's an interesting game.
Yeah.
And you said you thought you could do better. And there's no doubt you could do better.
Right.
I could do better. I mean,
anyone could do better.
Anyone
who knows teams and the league could do better.
What would their combined record have been last year? Like 8-30 or something like that. I know that doesn't add up, but bad teams. I think the Raiders are interesting. I don't think the Giants are that interesting. They're a little bit. What is going to happen?
Together they won 7 games. Yeah.
They got to Jackson Dart. He will probably not play the opener, I would think.
Not with Russ there and Jameis even, but it seems like Russ is going to be the guy there.
Wilson against Pete Carroll is kind of good.
Yeah.
So you'd have that in that game. And the Raiders have some interesting pieces. Geno Smith, starting with him, that trade. Some would call it a blockbuster. I would never. Neither would you. Would never use trading of Geno Smith for a draft pick.
NFL media mogul Ian Rappaport referred to that as a blockbuster trade.
It's almost like turning your badge.
And
back.
that caused
learn words.
That caused a rant.
Learn words
here. Yeah. I mean, there's certainly some appeal there, but I just think the teams being as rank as they've been, I don't know. Monday night, the curtain's going up. I'm trying to imagine Joe Buck and Aikman sitting there in the booth, introing the game and going, we've got the Giants and the Raiders. No,
that bad?
It's a season opener. What are we doing?
You know what the game was last year?
I don't remember.
Jets at 49ers.
Okay. Well, the Jets there was the sexiness of Aaron Rodgers. The Jets were a chic pick to win the division. They were favored over the Bills to win the division.
Favorite.
For crying out loud. So, and the Niners and the Niners. So, yeah, that's I mean, it's New York and formerly the Bay Area. This time around here, your idea, like the Raiders used to be Oakland, so it's geographically similar enough, but the teams couldn't be more. I mean, the Jets turned out to be as bad as the Giants were, but that wasn't what was expected. Aren't we expecting both of these teams to be? No, you think the Raiders could be decent, don't you?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I do. Coaching. The quarterback is good. Bowers is great. Myers is good. So there's pieces. What else did they do? They didn't. Oh, Genty. I don't have that straight in my head yet that Genty is on the Raiders. I think of him being on the Bears because that day, which is now 2 weeks ago, it was that the Bears were going to move up and get Ashton Genty, and they didn't. Jacksonville moved up itself, and that left Genty for the Raiders. I'm still in my mind, a mock draft was the real draft. Right. And the Raiders drafted a lineman. I don't know whose, but somebody's mock draft I think is what I think was the real draft. No, Genty, put the Raiders on that in that spot. That's cool. Don't you want to see him right away? Wouldn't you want to see Genty play his first game?
Don't care.
Oh, you turn in your badge as a football fan for this one. You're already not going to watch the Rams-Jaguars London game. You're going to go back to sleep.
My brand means more to me than football, and so he's a running back. Okay, whatever.
You've never watched Bijan play.
Nope.
You don't care about Genty.
Only running back I care about is James Cook.
James Cook, yeah. It's not football season.
You could talk me into the Raiders hosting that game. The new Pete Carroll's a famous coach, Super Bowl winning coach. Chip Kelly.
Deal.
There's names there, and that's a little hot. It's just get the Giants out of here.
All right, I'll try another one.
Just get the Giants out of here. I cannot have the Giants. No.
Ashton Genty makes his NFL debut on Monday night, Week 1. Against Travis Hunter and the Jaguars. Is that better?
Fine.
You've got the 3rd overall pick in Abdul Carter debuting for the Giants. You've got the 2nd overall pick.
I kind of dismiss the draft picks.
You've got the 2nd overall pick, Travis Hunter, debuting for the Jaguars. And you, by the way, have the 1st overall pick, Cam Ward, debuting for Tennessee. I'm assuming he plays Week 1. They're all at the Raiders this year. Not at the same time. But all those teams play at the Raiders. So does Cleveland.
Thank you for the not at the same time.
Yeah. So does Cleveland, which picked 5th, and the Raiders themselves picked 6th. So they don't have New England in here, but they go to New England.
Tennessee would be a tough sell to me. Almost.
No, I don't want it.
It's worse than New York because it's not New York. Like the main reason I can see New York is just because New York's going to get their turns on primetime because they're New York, almost regardless of what the prognosticators think their season is going to be like. They're going to get their time because it's New York. You definitely don't have that with Tennessee. So strike them. Jacksonville is kind of it's more Buffalo than it is New York City market-wise, but the trade that gets my attention. Because they have my attention in a way that I'm still uncomfortable with. I'm processing thinking that the Jaguars might be good. Just because I kind of liked. I mean, I know Doug Peterson's gone, but I like using them and him as kind of a punching bag last couple of years. New coach. I hurried to I don't know, Adam Gase oddball guy making weird faces and putting on strange voices at the news conference. And what the hell is he doing? But the more I listen to him, really what sold me is him talking about just, the passing offense is going to run through Brian Thomas Jr. What do you think I am, a moron? Like, oh, okay, I think I like this guy. He's actually just telling me the truth. I assume that's not some sort of subterfuge. And then they make this trade to get Hunter to throw into that offense along with Brian Thomas Jr. Like Trevor Lawrence, now or never. And I'm kind of into that.
Yeah, I would. I mean, doesn't this kind of sound like an ESPN joint to just pimp Genty and Hunter? These really are two of the most interesting prospects especially for non-quarterbacks, we've had in many years.
They absolutely were the two most talked about players in college football last year. I think were those two players.
Yeah, well,
I mean, whatever. I'm not measuring clicks or anything, but I feel like even the casuals by October, you had heard about this running back at Boise, and you'd heard about Travis Hunter.
Yep,
I think that's right. Yeah, if you turned on any of the pregame shows or watched college football on Saturdays, you heard about those dudes. So
I'm excited for this now.
That works.
I'll get off the Giants.
I told you I could do better. You right away. You're just right there with here's a new suggestion. Good, that works.
The Brady stuff with the Raiders.
Now I want that. Now
I want that too. Yes,
I want it.
Can we, since we're on a roll here, can we do better with my Sunday night game than Detroit at Chicago?
I would like to move on because I'm uncomfortable being excited about the Jaguars.
Detroit at Chicago. Ben Johnson versus his former team.
It works. I like Bills Ravens more.
Bills Ravens.
I like Bill. I mean, I'm a Bills fan. But I think that they're both really good matchups. One though, the Detroit Chicago game, you just don't know about Chicago yet. The best thing I could say about that, which I think I mentioned earlier, is that at least Chicago, I mean, it's Chicago, they're also going to get their turns. And there is optimism there. It's not, it's all, speculation. We've not seen them be good yet. I haven't seen the quarterback really be good yet in the NFL, but there is great expectation that he will, and with this new coach to unlock him, the skill players, pretty intriguing, and plus you get them on before it gets sideways, if it ends up getting sideways on the Bears, which they are the Bears.
I'm thinking of a recent season when the Bears were in that spot. It was 21. Rams-Bears in 21. And that might have been Fields, but Fields didn't play right away. 34-14 Rams. Dalton started. Yeah, that's what happened. They put the Bears on at the Rams to start the 21 season on the Sunday night opener.
All right.
I remember in those days I was furious about how many games the Bears would get.
Yeah.
Just like, what's good about this? But now they do have, and they, for the draft point, Loveland and Luther Burden.
Yeah.
That's interesting. To play the Lions right away. That's back to me. That's back to my Bills Patriots idea, where like you're putting the Bears to the test. Go beat Detroit. We'll give you a home field for that game. So it's a closer looking matchup. Give the Patriots home field for the Bills.
Yeah.
Matchup with them. You see, it's a closer game on paper.
How many years ago is this now? I'm sorry if it's like 10 years ago and I'm going to sound like an idiot, but it feels pretty recent that the 100-year anniversary Bears-Packers, wasn't that like some Sunday night maybe opener, or would it have been Thursday because that's the Super Bowl champ? Always.
It was Thursday.
Oh, wow.
They did that in 2019.
Oh, they passed over the Super Bowl champ to have the Bears because of the 100 years. Okay.
The Chiefs had won the Super Bowl the previous year, and they opened in Jacksonville. Maybe there was another reason for that I don't remember. But, yes, Thursday night, 2019, was Green Bay at Chicago. And Green Bay won the game 10-3. And, again, you would have heard me the next day flip out
about
the Bears being on at night. Just, can we stop? Now that's going to be the Steelers. It already has been, like, last couple of years, it's been the Steelers.
Yeah.
Get them off TV. Just get them right off TV. How about me?
Yeah.
All cocky.
No.
That was a Trubisky game, by the way.
If Rodgers ends up there, then they're going to be all over TV again.
Well, I wonder what they know. I mean, the schedule is I'm not sure it's written yet, but they were far enough along at the draft 2 weeks ago to announce that it was going to be May 14th.
Right.
So it's probably done. And they don't know where Rodgers, what the plan is? What would you assume? He plays. And if he doesn't, they're still Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
They do play Green Bay. And that's a game you would probably care to know if he's going to be with them.
Right.
And that's the rumor about the game in Ireland.
Yeah.
Was originally that it was going to be the Packers, but like Salas said this, if Rodgers is playing for Pittsburgh, they might not want that game against his former team, the Packers, at 9 a.m.
Right.
Our time, which is what it would be.
And the Packers, that Mark Murphy, I think, Sal referenced this, said something about it's not going to be that game is not going to, it's not going to happen. That's going to be the game in Dublin.
Okay.
So I don't know if that has to be gospel either, but whatever. That's someone who would be at a level way above where we are that could have some information about what is in the plans.
Well, if it isn't Green Bay, I don't know if their division games seem right for that. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Then you have the Bills as a possibility and Miami, but Miami has a game in Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
Indianapolis, but Indianapolis has a game in maybe Germany. And so it wouldn't be those teams. You're left with Minnesota, Seattle, and Buffalo.
And the division, yeah. Right.
And the division.
Right.
And I don't know if those teams don't have games in Europe themselves. The Bills, obviously, we know they don't.
Right.
Have a home game there.
Right.
So it's kind of a short list.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Those are the Pittsburgh home opponents.
There has been, I don't know how much attention anybody pays to this sort of stuff, but you did mention, what was the name of the schedule leaks?
NFL Nerd.
NFL Nerd. This notion that Rodgers is waiting until after the schedule gets announced to then tell everyone what he's doing. That seems on brand for him. To some extent, like make it all about me. So I wonder how much the Steelers really know, would let on that they know, if anything, and that the league has any clue about what his plans are.
Right. Greg Wyshynski joined us earlier today to talk NHL playoffs and the Sabres' future and their past. That'll be next year on WGR.